more time with you again today. To each and every one of you who are listening, to our ministerial staff, to the moderators on the different platforms, to Lottie Dottie and everybody, not even everybody, but everybody. Thanks for being on, spending some time with us. We're going to jump into today's topic, the spirit of addiction. Next week, we're going to it'll kind of be somewhat reviewed, but it'll be some new stuff um, based off of this book. Not necessarily, I'm sorry, let me flip this. I got to do the mirror thing. So if you, this will be the book. My wife found this and using it more so for questions. But if you want to kind of take a screenshot of this or whatever, let's see, we have I'm Glad You Asked. In-depth answers to difficult questions about Christianity. Obviously, we're not Christian. Nevertheless, though, some of the questions about Christianity are some of the questions that are biblical. Obviously, it's by two Ken Boa and Larry Moody. So, if you'd like to be able to grab a copy or something like that on Facebook, I can't reverse it to where you can see it. But if you want to take a screenshot real quick, and we'll be coming from this starting next week with a bunch of questions. Now, we do have a whole series already on YouTube. You can go on there, look at the playlists that says Having Been Led as We Believe, but we'll be using this and utilizing this to be able to answer some questions. And, what do people think about this? Why do we believe this? Some of these things, and we'll just go through and we'll just pretty much go through the whole spiel of stuff in order. So we'll sort of bring up gifts again. It'll bring up what we believe. It'll bring up biblical belief system. It'll bring up scriptures and everything. So, but thank you for everybody for being on. Sister Cassandra, Sister Dawn, XWN. I'm sorry. Got a lot of us already on. Minister Sonia, Big Brother Thomas, Sister Tamika, Empress, Honey Lips, Sweets, let's see, Jay, how you doing? Butterfly Effect. Is this Aurea? Anthony, Namaji. Oh, no problem. Well, thank you for being on. This I don't know if I'm saying this right. Namaji Zeno. Am I saying that right? I hope I am. Once again, to the Honorable Maya, my wife, who's on 1683, Minister Tamara, Sister Barbara, called, I don't know, calls four irons. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. Hey, Toad, how you doing? Lee Main, glad to have you on today. Sheila. Oh, okay. Now, I always mess it up. It's not Osei, Osei. I can't remember how to pronounce. I apologize. Please forgive me. But thanks for being on. As always, glad to have another Kofi on. It's like with a K, like K no E, K no E, K no E. It's like, oh, cause. Okay, cause. So it's cause for irons. I guess I'm still probably messing it up. Forgive me. How you doing, Ransom? And everybody, hello, Sister Rhonda, Beverly, everybody who's on. We thank you. We appreciate you. Thanks for spending some time with us today on this rising. And the topic for today, we're going to talk about the spirit of addiction. Right. And before somebody even tries to hit us, oh, here they go with spirits, blah, blah, and they're religious and blah, blah. Look, many people are religious, but that's not my goal. When I'm talking about that, we're talking about spirit. Even if you want to go to the Greek terminology, you're talking about pneuma, pneumatical thought. Pneuma literally meaning Pneuma, literally meaning the stoic thought that marries the spirit, the body, and the soul together. A lot of people don't know what these words are that we use. So, or if you're talking about psychology, for example, how you doing, Sister Deborah? Psychology is the study of the soul. Psyche is soul, and ology is the study of. Ologia, the logic or the study of. Therefore, if we're dealing with psychology, we are dealing with the study of the soul. So, even in these words that we use, before we make them so mystical that they're no longer practical, let's actually deal with the practical application. And you've been struggling with addiction. Many of us do. Matter of fact, addiction, that's what we're going to talk about today. That's why I want to talk about the spirit or the mentality of the Stoic thought that marries the mind, body, and soul, the holistic way, whole being whole. In dealing with it, the word holy, you put a W before that H. We need to be holy, whole, one, aleph. Um, and so it's important that we, be about moja, one, right? Being one. Gi and Yami, there is none except. There's really only one. There are not multiple truths, but there's really only one truth. There's only one interpretation, but many applications. Right? How you doing, Brother Clem? So we're dealing with the oneness, being whole and getting the proper interpretation, having been led as we believe, and we believe in truth and oneness and wholeness. That's what causes everything to be. That's what causes us to move. That's what causes us to live, to move, and to have our being, this oneness, right? And so there's not two testaments. There's not an Old Testament, New Testament. That's Nicolaitan doctrine. We're warned about in Revelation chapter 3, starting at verse 12, right? And you start reading about things like that. We want to be against Balaam doctrine, which is doctrine that's against Israel, and Nicolaitan doctrine that's against that says that if we don't like something, we say that it's old. And if it's something that's acceptable, we say that it's new. If there's one truth, it's been one truth, period. And how you doing, healing and rising to you, Sister Tracy? So we're dealing with what? Oneness, wholeness, being together, having a proper interpretation, having one truth, not living your truth, right? People say that all the time. Live your truth, bro. Live your truth, sis. No, there's one truth, right? You shouldn't have your truth. You don't have what do they call it? You haven't cornered the market on truth as much as people would like us to believe. Thanks for being part of the community, King. Is it King Raj? And I missed somebody else who came on. You said holy means separated. Well, I mean, if you're about oneness, then you would be separated. But we change the definitions of things over and over again. But the word whole is where holy comes from. By the way, if you look up the word holy, hakwadash, um, you're looking at the characters. The characters would go like this: He, kwa. So he, kof, um, sorry, Dalit Sheen, which literally means the Holy Spirit. Che, Kwa will cut some things or prepare some things, put some things in place or cut some things off. Da, Dalit, which is the door, leading us through the door. Yashua is the door. And also then Sheen, either through his destruction or will destroy some things, chew some things up. That's actually the original term. So people will put whatever they want. But yes, truth separates. We actually talk about that a lot, that truth separates. So we're going to talk about truth, and we're talking about the interpretation. Remember, even legally speaking, which you're dealing with the Bible, you're dealing with law and case study. Speaking about these particular people, interpretation literally means that you have to go off of what the people meant, what was originally written, why it was written, what it was written for, etc. Right? It's not coming out of what we want it to be based off of new determinations and new things, but there's one interpretation. Here comes the same. We've said this many times, but here we go again. Just in case some of you haven't heard this, on the different platforms that are running. Once again, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, the podcast, and TikTok, thanks for being on with us. If you're dealing with this, right, um, right, you can have your own opinion, but not your own fact, and that's why I try to get away from my opinion as much as possible. But when we're dealing with this, we have to recognize that um, we're trying to talk about spirits, addictions, things like that, and we're not talking about culture. Everything starts with culture. Culture leads to your beliefs. So you believe what you believe because there's a culture that informs you, right? And beliefs lead to your emotions. Literally, your brain has motions. As I speak, think, feel, talk, breathe, etc. My brain, my body, everything is moving. That's what an emotion is. If you get emotional, there's movements and things. If you have an emotion like this, you're probably not feeling that courageous. If you have an emotion like this, you're probably feeling more powerful. If you have an emotion like this, you're probably somebody who's really high up and is looking above situations. You have emotion like this, you're probably somebody who's trying to contemplate and possibly is depressed. It's emotion, right? And that's based off of what? Your belief, which is based off of your culture. And we can continue to go through. We have a whole list of 7 things, right? 5 of which were developed by Dr. Leah Africa, but we have to be in accordance with this, right? and we have to make sure that we comprehend the culture. We have to make sure we comprehend it. So when we talk about the spirit, the ravak or ruach, or the pneuma, and we talk about of addiction, addiction, going towards what? Addiction, right? Then we have to start making sure that we comprehend what addiction even is. You said Adam was not the first man, simply the first white man. Adam wasn't white, you know. So we got to be careful with that. But Adam wasn't the first human being, and we talked about that before. We have that a little bit in our "Haven't Been Led as We Believe" series. We talked about that in our early riser Bible study session. You said Adam was white. Well, if that's your belief system, you feel free to believe whatever you want. But when you talk about even the word human, and you're talking about Adam being the first human, or you talking about Adam being a human being, and Adam basically is even if you don't believe in the canon, that's fine. But if you're talking about what the actual canonical belief system is, you said his name means white. No, Adam, Adam, Aleph, Dalet, Mem. We know what his name means. You said it's not a belief; it's an irrefutable. Well, I'm going to refute it because it's not irrefutable. If you know what that word actually means, and where it originally came from before people switched the definitions, you will know that it's Aleph, Dalet, Mem. That means that you have a source, Aleph, Father, source. Dalet, there's a door that something came through. Mem, that's the spirit or the blood, or even the water. What is Adam? Spirit, water, and blood. That's what your physical body is. Now, human being is humus man, right? Human being is humus man. What does humus man mean? Humus is the dirt body, and man is the spirit. Then that was breathed into and became a living soul. So, and how you doing, brother TJ? I'm sorry I didn't say anything earlier, right? But it's we have a lot of stuff, we hear a lot of things, but once again, if you're going to say it's irrefutable, once again we're talking about a cultural thing. Somebody told you from a culture that you accept, and that's fine. You can accept whatever culture it is. Somebody told you something and you choose to believe, and you say it's irrefutable because it's what you want to believe, but you won't actually look at what is actually stated in his name, right? His name is important because name means authority. So it gets into a place where we have these conversations, but once again, we're not being culturally accurate, especially with our interpretations. If you don't know how to interpret through the culture, you won't have proper cultural indicators. How you doing, Aaron? Thanks for being part of the community. So, and those who are joining us for the first time, we're on every rising 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. We have some special stuff we put out on Patreon as well. We have classes. We have different things that we do as far as prayer service, some things we do as far as specific Bible study sessions. We do a lot of training, one-on-one coaching, life coaching, marital coaching, etc. Right? So we appreciate you all taking time out to be with us today. If it's your first time or if it's one time of many, thank you for being on. How you doing, Ms. Mac? Jay said I was trying to tell him we have no culture to go off of because we were straight, right? And even a lot of stuff like that's why even with Enoch and stuff, when people start talking, people don't talk about the fact that Enoch, many of the versions of Enoch people read are versions written in the 1800s, 1900s, which means that those aren't original. And they're also people who are telling you, who are usually European, telling you how they feel about something that came way before there was a such thing as Europe. So, we have to recognize these things. Hey, Grand Rise and Key, how you doing? So what we're going to talk about today, though, our focus once again today is the spirit of addiction, right? I can see easily it's going to be something where people want to take it to different places. And I comprehend it because many people are new to this. How you doing, Minister Anais? Thank you for leading us in prayer once again. Appreciate you. And thanks for doing that. Hello to David, if you're still on with us on the podcast. Appreciate you. So we want to talk about the spirit, the Ravak. I'm sorry, the I said it right. The Ravak or the Ruach, right? Which is the head, Resh, Vav, something that nails us in place, keeps the family in place. And then Kaf, which is being in the Most High's hands, right? So we want to talk about the head, something that is the head, right? That is really your head, that's really in charge. The head that's going to keep something that's going to keep you in place, and something that keeps you in the Most High's hands, or has you to even keep things in your own hands, if you will, right? That's what we're speaking on today. Thanks for being on with us, Shalom, Michelle. So we have a big issue because we're going to talk about the spirit of addiction, and this even takes you to a place. If you, I've only attended one when I was actually, in a hospital or whatever for mental health reasons. If I'm being honest, trying to get life back in order for myself, going through a tough time, and Um, I actually went to the first and only AA meeting, got a book after that and read the book, but of Alcoholics Anonymous, if you're not aware of what AA stands for. How you doing, Lily Cross? And got so many leaves, I got to start saying last names now. um, you know, but when we're speaking on this, we have to first deal with um, in the 1930s. I can't remember the guy's name now off the top of my head, but the person who started Alcoholics Anonymous, how you doing, Brother Tracy? He made it a point to start studying and came to the conclusion, which is why you hear him mention higher power and all this stuff, came to the conclusion that people who deal with addiction are trying to basically put something in place of what they truly are addicted, to, which is they need to know what their purpose and their position is in life and what the Most High has created them for and what they're called to do. They're missing out on what the Most High wants. They don't know how to get what the Most High wants for them. They don't know how to make things work. And so, because they're not aware of how to make these things work, they basically come up with a lot of different things to be able to, fill that need. How you doing, Sister Mary? And so, a lot of people, when we're dealing with addiction, how you doing, Brother Cole? A lot of people are trying to fulfill a need because they feel they don't have knowledge of the word know, K-N-O-W, to be intimate with. So they have no intimacy with the Most High. And so, it does. And I'm not saying somebody's not aware of or believes in the Most High, right? Hear what I'm telling you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody's not intimate with. Yeah, a lot of people trying to cover up pain, things of that nature, right? What is my purpose? What is my value? Something bad happened to me. I'm going through some pain, some stress, some struggles, right? Alcohol is never, right? Alcohol, um, dope, opium, whatever, is never, crack, etc. That is not the actual problem. That is your prescription, right? And that's not even addiction in and of itself, because we usually stop there, but people are addicted to how many people like them on social media. People are addicted to how many people will tell them that their clothes look nice. People are addicted to how many people will tell them their nails are great. People are addicted to how many people will pay attention to their hair. People are addicted to how many people will agree with them. People are addicted to yeah, people are addicted to more pornography. People are addicted to lust and all these things, but these are not the issue. It's like when you have a sickness. When you go to a doctor and you say, I'm having yeah, alcohol can be a depressant as well, right? But when you go to a doctor and you say, doc, I'm having an issue with, my skincare or whatever, they send you to a dermatologist. The dermatologist is not trying to heal what's going on, right? People are addicted to food, yeah. So the dermatologist is not going to take care of the actual issue. The dermatologist is going to try to make sure that your skin looks fine. Now, if the dermatologist is actually really, really great at what they do, they might actually try to say, well, let's not just deal with the symptoms, let's deal with the actual issue, the problem. Right. But in modern medicine and Western society, we don't take care of the issue as much as we take care of the symptom. If you have a cough, you go to the store to take cough medicine. The cough medicine does not actually stop what's causing you to cough, right? Or the issue that caused you to cough. The cough medicine just stops the cough. But just because we stop the cough doesn't mean we've stopped the sickness. It just means now you can go to work. You still can spread whatever you have, right? But you can go to work now because people won't think you can spread whatever you have because you aren't coughing, right? That's not what I don't even know how to say it. What did they used to say in the commercial? The cough, the cough, sneeze, whatever medicine, so you can get rest medicine and all that stuff. They're giving you a list of symptoms, so that um, you can what you can survive or you can exist, but right, that you can exist in the society and keep on being around, but they're not actually dealing with the problem. And so, whatever addiction you're talking about, food, yeah, NyQuil, all that stuff, right? Like food, NyQuil, pills, um, you know, uh, hard drugs, over the counter drugs, etc. Social media for a lot of people is a drug, whatever it is. Um, you're you're not dealing with the actual issue. And what happens is people are not dealing with the issue of addiction. There you go. Yeah, thank you. The sniffling, aching, stuffy head fever, so you can rest medicine, that thing, whatever they say, right? Like they gave you a bunch of symptoms, but they never dealt with the actual issue. And what I would suggest to you today, right? What I would heavily suggest you to study today is that is to see, wait a minute, am I, when I'm dealing with addiction, whatever my addiction is, right? Am I, right? Yeah. Am I suppressing symptoms, or am I actually dealing with issues? Am I healing, or am I suppressing? Right? Just because you suppress something, just because you don't cough like you used to, doesn't mean that you still don't have an issue, right? And the addiction suppresses. The addiction suppresses. And that's really what we're dealing with as a spirit. You're missing some things spiritually. Pneumatic thought, stoic, pneumatic, pneuma, literally meaning the stoic thought that marries the body, the soul, and the spirit together. That's what pneuma is. That's what spirit, the Greco-Roman mentality that people have of spirit, that's actually what they're telling you. Psychology, psyche, is the study of the soul, right? When we're talking about the pneuma, the spirit, we're talking about physiology, right? You're still talking about something that's dealing with the physical person that's connected to the soul and the spirit. Whether you want to call it the some people would try to call it the third eye. Some people might want to try and call it your pineal gland. Some people might want to call it many different things, but we're still, what's happening is you are addicted to something because there's something missing from the spirit. Once again, the spirit is not just only this thing that floats, but the spirit is connected to the soul as well, and is connected to your body. Yeah, the wound can fester if it's not taken care of. You know, here's an example. It's kind of gory, depending on where your mind will go. How you doing, Sister Shima? Kind of gory, but I hope you won't take it in a manner in which you find it to be off-putting. But if somebody has a really bad wound on their arm, and we're out in the wilderness somewhere, and I can't get you exactly what you need right away, I might be able to put some things as far as plant life on the arm, and I might be able to, give you some things to feed you or whatever, and make sure you're drinking enough water, whatever, to help you out. The reality is, though, I'm going to tie a tourniquet around. The tourniquet is great because you won't bleed out, right? But if I don't get you what you need fast enough, you're actually going to lose your arm, because the tourniquet has to be tight enough to ensure that you won't bleed out, which means that blood won't get to the part that's actually going through the symptom, or that's going through the actual issue. So the symptom is the bleeding. The issue is you got attacked by a bear, let's say, right? So the symptom is the bleeding. So I stopped the bleeding, but when stopping the bleeding and only focusing on the bleeding, and I gave you something for pain, right? Or maybe I found something in the woods that'll knock you out, that'll put you to sleep. That's great. The symptom is taken care of, but the issue is that if we don't do something, you might lose this part of you. And a lot of us are losing parts of ourselves because we don't deal with what's actually the actual addiction, right? And why you're addicted. See, the addiction is the symptom, the spirit of addiction, right? If you will, there's really a spirit. If I could say it like this, maybe I should have said it like this: there's a spirit that you are looking for, and you are right. Or and since you lack something, anytime somebody gives you anything that looks like that spirit, you fiending for it. So if it looks like it, you like the taste of it. Some of us were not treated correctly. But thanks for the love for those who are giving the likes, shares, and all that across all the platforms. We appreciate it. So you have a symptom, right? Let's say your symptom is nobody, you were without your father. All right, male or female, grew up without your father. You had a symptom. Or I'm sorry, you said, I'm sorry, that was your issue, that was your problem, that was your cut, that was the damage, right? So you have an issue to where you looking for whatever love you can find, this and that or whatever. We put a tourniquet on it. If it's a single mother thing, or if it's you get adopted thing, or your parents or your grandparents or somebody else takes you in, we put a tourniquet on it. And we just say, well, tie it off. See, so you don't need to worry about it. You don't need the love of your mama, or sorry, you don't need the love of your daddy. You don't need the love of this. You don't need the love of that. You'll be fine. You'll make it without them. Press through. Don't be a victim. Don't have victim mentality. All these things that people say and do, right? And so we give you all those things, but we never actually deal with the actual, problem. So now, because we never dealt with that actual spirit being gone that you need, it gives a chance for all these other types of spirits attached to people and all these other soul ties to come in. So somebody comes in, there are men and women that study people to see if they're getting what they're supposed to get. And if they're not getting what they're supposed to get, then all of a sudden they had these conversations with people like, well, if it was me, if I was around, I'd definitely give you this. I'd definitely be there for you for that. Oh, your husband, he not paying this bill, that bill. I'll be honest with you, man. It must be tough because real men, they make sure they take care of their family. Spirits coming in, right? And you get a taste of it, and you want what you first got a taste of. It's an 80-20 thing, right? We talk about that 80-20 rule people like to bring up, that you might be getting 80%, but he ain't there financially as somebody else is there. Well, that's the 20. If you give him time, that might be taken care of. Or you might find that that's not something that is ultimately going to be something that you really need to have a great relationship and to live your life correctly. However, it's something that, it's something that you like. It's part of what you need as far as security. But somebody comes in, they talking that nice stuff. All of a sudden it goes from that to, hey, you know what? During lunch, why don't we go sit down and let's have conversation. Let's eat together. Then it goes from that to, let's go ahead and meet up. Then it goes from that to, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put this money in your hand. Then it comes to that like, hey man, you know what? He can't do what he's supposed to do. Let me go ahead, and now you crying on the person's shoulder. Then it goes from that to, you know what? Why don't you come over my house, or why don't we meet up at a hotel? And then before you know it, right? Because we took care. Somebody putting a tourniquet on things and the symptom, but the symptom is basically the tourniquet was put on there long enough. We tied it off. Now there's no use. Now you don't see the use of what is actually there. The problem. You're not trying to actually improve the husband, to improve the marriage, to improve the relationship, to improve possibly yourself. And so now the first taste is what you chase after. Like people, when they cheat, it's very rare that somebody just sees somebody says one thing and they just cheat. That's not how it works, right? Like you get a first taste of something that you feel like you've been missing, something in your endorphin, something pops up. That's what happens if somebody gets addicted on drugs. And how you doing, Dennis? How you doing, Olive Lee? How you doing, Alan? What normally happens is something pops up. You hear what I'm saying? Like when you take a drug, if you take dope for the first time, what happens is that it puts you in this place of euphoria, and you aren't worried about problems. You feel like you can take on the world. Even if you're just sitting in a spot, you feel like everything's different. You don't have to worry about a lot of things or whatever. And so the dope addict for the rest of their lives, the crack addict for the rest of their lives, the opium addict, right? The opioid addict for the rest of their life, they are chasing after the first high. Okay? They're chasing after the first high. They've been missing something. They've been trying to cover something. And here comes something to help them to literally block off the pain, to get rid of the symptoms and not have to deal with the problem. People are addicted to cough medicine, right? Lean and stuff like that. How you doing, Dimples? Like people are addicted to cough medicine. Why would somebody be addicted to cough medicine? Well, not just because of alcohol and things like that, but why? Because it's something that covers up symptoms. Thanks for being part of the community. 312 quick, right? It covers up symptoms. So I don't have to worry about symptoms anymore. I'm gonna take this every time. I'm gonna down the hatch, right? All this stuff. I'm gonna take this thing because it covers up symptoms. People get addicted to pain medicine. Why? Not because that what's giving you pain has gone away, but they're addicted to the pain medicine because it covers up the pain. The pain is a symptom. You need your pain. As much as people want, look, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have any natural stuff that can help with pain stuff, right? Right? Like you should take some things from time to time that help you to deal with pain, right? But people get addicted to pain meds because it takes it to a level to where, look, man, I'm floating. Not only do I not have pain, I'm not even walking. Like I don't even have cares. And that's the issue, is that there's something spiritually missing and you are looking for it. You have, right? Sometimes we haven't even found it. We've never experienced it. We experienced it one time and we say, man, that felt really great. I'm looking for that over and over again now. I don't have to be accountable. Let me go ahead and look for that. See, the spirit of addiction comes with a lack of accountability. Yeah, you can distract from whole adult life, from the hidden pain of childhood. Yeah, there's a lot of people who have certain addictions that take on things that started off with somebody did something to you while you were a child. Now here you are, an adult, and you're still dealing with what? The same addictions. How you doing, Prince? Thanks for being on. Like, you're dealing with an addiction. Why does the bully? Most bullies bully because either they get bullied at home, they get bullied by their circumstances, or they've been bullied before. They say, I'm not going to be bullied again. You're addicted. You're addicted because you bullied somebody else and you said, man, there's a rush. No matter, wow, that's why people bully people. Okay, I have power. I'm used to not having power. Now I got power over other people. You get addicted and you keep searching for other people to bully because you're trying to get back to that original place that you were that first time you bullied somebody. It felt so great. It felt amazing. I finally had power. I wasn't the person on the bottom of, or they say the bottom of the totem pole really should be the top, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I found greatness. I become the bully. People get addicted to it. People get addicted to being tokens. I can speak as a former token. I'm not coming at anybody. I'm telling game. I'm telling you what is. Like, I've been there, done that. Like, oh man, you know what? Like, these white people let me in here. I'm not poor by any means, but at the same time, I mean, they let me in this. I go here, I get to travel, blah blah. Like, it's easy for me to like go on trips. I do this, blah blah. Man, you know what? Yeah, like, and you search and search and search until you realize, like most addicts do, that this ain't really doing nothing for me. It's not doing anything for my people. It's numbing me, but it ain't necessarily taking care of the pain. And I've been still dealing with this pain. You know what? Why do I feel pain about this? Why do I feel pain about myself? Why do I feel pain about my community? Let me figure this out. Once I figure it out, cool. Now I'm clean, right? I get clean. The word clean, by the way, means what? It means legal. So now I was illegal, trying to be something I wasn't, trying to cover up things that I shouldn't have. Now I've found out, oh, this is who I am. Cool. Let me get clean. Created me a clean heart, a legal passion. That's what that translates to. Created me a legal passion. Psalm 51:10. Created me a legal passion, a clean heart. And therefore, once that happens, now you can renew within me a right or a powerful, a righteous, a right legal standing spiritually. Created me a clean heart. Created me a legal passion. Right? Because if I'm addicted and therefore I'm covering up the symptoms, then really what I'm doing is I'm allowing the problem to kill me. And if the problem is killing me, then it means that I'm dying. If I'm dying, I'm not healthy. If I'm not healthy, I'm not myself. And I don't know if I could do that again. So hopefully you listen to the recording if you need to. How you doing, Tree Lady? Right. But if I'm addicted to something, I'm covering up the pain. So I'm only dealing with symptoms. I'm not dealing with what actually is hurting me, which means that in essence, I'm not dealing with me. I'm not dealing with what deals with me. You hear what I'm saying? I'm not dealing with what the thing that deals with me. I need to heal, but I got these things that have helped me to not experience. So you have a lot of grown men that grow up without fathers. We talked about this before. Fathers, boys should be challenged, and little girls should be protected. Boys are never challenged. We were watching. My wife and I were watching. I forget what the name of these people are. The two young men, if I would even call them that, because their psyche is so messed up. They have little boy mentality and trying to tell people stuff on their show. And I forget what their names are. But anyways, we were watching them through this other show, Abba and Preach. But I forget these two young men's name. But basically, saying all types of wild stuff, saying that men and women are different, and therefore since men and women are different, which is true, but then going to this place of like, women should not have Instagrams, but men should, and men should have open options, but women shouldn't. And it's like foolishness, and it doesn't even make sense. Like, tried to make sense out of it, can't even make sense. But you can tell that they've been hurt. You can tell that they've been the nerds in the equation, so to speak. Like, I was the nerd too. I'm still a nerd. There's nothing wrong with being one. However, it used to be bad to be one. Fresh and fit. Thank you. Yeah, fresh and fit. And I don't remember which one is which, but whichever. Like the one that's balding and is from East Africa, and he has some real issues. He's really the gang leader. The other guy just kind of is there and just kind of says, "Yep, yep, yeah, boss, yeah." Like that's the other one. That's all he really does. But he's just shucking and jiving. The other one is chucking and jiving, but he actually speaks. And they're talking about all this nonsense and foolishness. And when you listen to it, you're like, these are clearly two people who have a lot of issues, and their symptom is that they call themselves high value men. Now they're not. They can't provide. They're not trying to provide. They're not trying to make sure that people are taken care of. They're not trying to take care of their own women. I can only imagine how they think of their own mothers, saying stupid stuff like they do. And I'll call it what it is, stupid stuff, right? I said that before. Anybody who's going to be out there saying stuff about our communities if it's stupid, we're going to call it out. I'm sorry, David, you said, so addiction acts as a pacifier. Yeah, we could say that it pacifies for sure, right? Exactly. They're not high value men. They're highly hurt men, and hurt people, and hurt people. See, watch this. If you're hurting, then we're still just dealing with the symptom. So they got a little bit of play. They had some other brothers that they, speak to, right? Like they got some brothers that are hurt, and so these brothers that are hurt have been waiting because they haven't had anybody to talk to their situation. And so these brothers that are hurt heard some hurt brothers and said, I can identify with being hurt. Yeah, all women are terrible, and all this foolishness coming out their mouth. And it's like, bruh, did you take time out to realize that these are not the people that they say that they are? But you're not looking at that because, hey, they're helping you to cover your symptom. It feels great for the hurt person to get with another hurt person. Remember the 3 C's? Those have been with us long enough. The 3 C's. The first C is have confidants. A confidant is somebody that's for you, right? Then you have the second C is a constituent. Constituents are people that are for what you are for, right? Not necessarily for you. So you know the difference, that they seem like confidants, but you shouldn't you'll only have a few confidants your entire life. If you get 5 to 10 confidants, you ahead of the game your entire life. But constituents, they're for what you're for. But then there's people called comrades. These people are people that are against what you're against, right? And what we showed people in that is how, like, I was telling people all the time when Trump was in, I was like, all y'all people that are coming together, I can see very clearly you guys are not constituents. You guys are not confidants. You are not for each other. You are not about your community. You just don't like Trump. And I said, as soon as Trump leaves, you're going to start to see all these people start picking each other off. And sure enough, some of the same people that T. Nathan was cool with, he went and he took their company. And some of the same people that were cool with him, they went and put him in prison for stuff that he ain't even do, right? Or maybe he did. I don't know. You said I look like that? Well, I live on my own land. So, hopefully you're able to do the same no matter what you look like. But see what I'm saying? Like, there are people that are comrades. They're against whatever you're against. They're against whatever you're against. And a lot of us are teaming up with people that are against whatever we're against just because it feels great. You got that sister, you got a sister out there. We've all known somebody, like, or maybe at least heard a story of somebody who's able to be like, they were going out with somebody. They found out about somebody's ex, started talking to the ex, and started being like, the ex started saying, yeah, he terrible with this, and he don't do 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 this. Next thing you know, she starts saying, yeah, you know what, you rap, blah, blah. She leaves the ex, and then she thinks her and the person, or she leaves her man or whatever. She thinks her and the ex are going to be friends. Her and the ex ain't friends. The ex, the ex ends up leaving her alone. Now she's sitting there like, man, I left him, and I got, because you thought that was your constituent or your confidant, but that was a comrade. That comrade, she could care less about you. She was just against what you were against. Once that person's gone, y'all don't have nothing in common anymore. Is that a better position to understand and work with a woman as a partner? Shima said you look like a king. Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. I know, and I appreciate y'all for saying that. I appreciate it because y'all see how many people be on here saying foolishness. So I appreciate y'all giving me a little oomph because it is a little wild to always have people saying negative stuff in here. But the reality is we're dealing with a mindset where people are dealing. Even that person who came on, that's an example of a hurt person. If you're still on before you get blocked, like, that's an example of a hurt person, and hurt people hurt people. And rather than make fun of you or something back, I would just say that I prayed for you. You know, prayerfully, you're able to stop coming on and trying to hurt people. You know, whatever you do in your life, prayerfully, you try to do something. But that's somebody that I can tell that that's a person that has symptoms, and they're trying to cover the symptoms, but they're not trying to deal with the problem. And when you don't deal with the problem, when you don't deal with the symptoms, hear what I'm about to tell you. When you don't deal with the symptoms, even, or not even just the symptoms, but the problem. Some people don't even deal with the symptoms, right? But if you don't deal with the problem, you're going to have some issues that pop up. Why? Because if, once again, whole thing of the tourniquet, I'm bleeding down here. Something's attacked me. I'm off, and I'm gonna put the tourniquet tie off so I stop the blood. So yeah, there's a big symptom missing, but I still got a huge gap in my arm. I still got muscles messed up. I still got nerve endings messed up. My hand can't move. And if I don't do something to make sure that I deal with this problem, now I'm gonna lose the arm entirely. You said a euphoric feeling is what you're trying to gain. Yeah, with an addiction. The addiction helps. And the problem is that you need more of the addiction. You got to have more of it. I need more sugar this next time. That little sliver of cheesecake was all right, but now I need it graduates to where I go to Costco and I buy the whole cheesecake wheel. It find a way to only let two pieces go to somebody else, right? It becomes a problem because I'm covering it up. Matter of fact, when we're eating, people don't know fat, grease, sugar, and salt are things that companies use because they've studied you and they know that people that don't feel loved or they don't feel needed or they don't feel heard, they eat what? They eat fat, they eat salt, they eat sugar, right? They know this about you. Thanks for being part of the community, Andrea. They know this about you. You said don't call out cheesecake. Look, I'm cheesecake. I'll tell people cheesecake. That's my vice. You know, if you guys ever had cheesecake around me, hopefully I fasted before. I've been eating healthy because I promise you, like, that's a tough one. I might leave the room. People are like, why you ain't in the room, Pastor Cook? Because that cheesecake there. I'm just being real. You got to know your addictions. You got to be real with yourself. A lot of people be real about it, but they study you. They study to see what are you committed to. And so you have to create in you a legal passion. That means you got to get rid of the dirty or the things that make you unclean. When somebody had to scream out unclean, they had to scream out, hey, I'm not legal. That's all unclean meant, is that I'm not legal in this moment in time. A woman being considered to be unclean on her period is not saying that you should never talk to a woman. Right? People took that, that stuff people took too far. Thanks for being on, Martina, or is it Carmina? Am I saying it right? Carmina or Carmina? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Thank you for being on. Right? Unclean didn't mean that a woman is not viable. It meant that she's not legal to do certain things. But why? Because something that's supposed to be alive is now something that's dead, and her body is trying to expel the thing that once was legal as far as giving life, and now it's illegal, it's dead. That's all that unclean meant. That's all unclean meant. Is it okay to eat shellfish? I mean, biblically, not really. You know, if somebody decides to eat it, then you do what you do, right? But if you're talking about what's like legal or lawful or whatever, then you wouldn't eat shellfish. You said your dad's cheesecake ate the best. But we don't recognize these things. So like when something says clean is talking about if it's legal. If it's legal, then it's clean. If it's illegal, it's unclean. So men can be unclean. You got men that are liars. That's unclean. That's an unclean man, right? You got men that are married on paper, but are not husbands in reality. That's unclean. You have women that are married on paper, but are not wives in reality. That's unclean. You're illegal. No wonder your marriage is all over the place. You have preachers who preach and don't even know what bada shut means, the first word of the Bible. Well, something about that's unclean. And all of us are unclean to a certain extent. That's why we're trying to make sure that we're living better, that we're living greater, that we're moving better, that we're learning more about ourselves. I'm sorry, David. You said, how does the Most High view when you are unclean? Well, the Most High, once again, He unviews us when we're illegal. That's all He's really saying. When you're unclean, you're illegal. You're not in proper standing. You're not righteous. You're not in right legal standing. Get yourself back in right legal standing. You can become clean. People will say, well, what about soul ties from marriages and all this stuff and these physical things that happen to you once you've had sex and intercourse and you're trying to get away from it? Then start doing things that are clean. Make yourself legal again. Go through the process of being legal. That first word is barashat. If you look up a couple comments before yours, Minister Anais has it spelled out in the comment section. Right. But when we're talking about these things, that's what your addiction is basically something is unclean in your life. You get a hold of something because since you are dealing with some unclean stuff, you get a hold of something that covers up the symptoms of being unclean. And so now you're addicted rather than being accountable for the steps to become clean. Now you're addicted to something that says I can bypass that and just do whatever I want. How you doing, Frankie? That's why a lot of people like to sprinkle some Jesus on it. I can do whatever I want. Sprinkle some Jesus on it. Everything's all right. I mean, look, I be cussing people out and everything, and I slapped this girl the other day because she made me mad. But God knows my heart, right? There's a symptom there that shows us that you slapping folks just because she said something you don't like. We might need to deal with the issue, but no, God knows my heart. I'm addicted. Thanks for sharing the live, babe. Appreciate it. Also said go through the process of being legal again. Go through the process, though. Go through the process, though. Yeah, go through it. Yeah, you got to put that on the shirt. Yeah, we talk about that all the time. People sprinkle Jesus on it. Sprinkle some Jesus on it. That once you reach atonement, all that you've done in this life will be shown on replay via judgment. Sure. That's why you need to be covered by something legal. Yeah, he sure does. It's evil. You need to repent. Fix this. Yeah. Oh, just lost your mother-in-law. Sorry to hear about that. Hopefully things get better with that. Yeah, I don't, I don't want to speak on that specifically because I still have mine in my life, but I do have, I lost my mother a while ago and it can be tough. So, definitely try to be there for your spouse and, praying for that situation. It can be a lot. And a lot of us have gone through the sprinkle some Jesus, like even in healing, by the way. In a sense, I'm not saying I'm glad I heard about your pain, but in a sense, I'm glad that was brought up. Because even when we're dealing with our pain, we have addictions. You know, sprinkling some Jesus on it has become like an addiction. It's become an addiction for people. They're addicts. A lot of people go to church to dance. A lot of people go to church and you're looking for the word to be 20, 30 minutes long, but you want, singing and dancing and clapping and shouting and falling out and all that. You want that to be 2 hours long. You want the announcement to come up and for you to feel welcomed by that. You want to have a welcome thing where you go around and shake people's hands that gets your endorphins going, and you want all these different things going on, and you want all this stuff to distract you. You want the circus, the church. That's what the word church that has the same root word as circus. They're the same word. That's what you come for. You want to have some, and while they're doing it, they sprinkling and sprinkling and sprinkling, and then you go home and somebody says, "What was the message about it?" And you're like, I don't really remember. The church was good though. We was dancing it out. Matter of fact, people compare the circus to one another. That pastor, that you give a great word and everything, but we're looking for a little more. What you mean? Like they don't want to come out and say, like maybe we can have some different songs. Maybe we can do this. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. There's time and place for that. I forgot that we're going to be doing work out front. I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys can hear me over all this noise. I might need to move inside. It's kind of annoying. But, like these are things that people don't recognize. They don't realize. We're into the whole sprinkle some Jesus on it and act like nothing's going on. Doesn't matter what's going on in my life. People say stuff that doesn't even make sense. Psalm 142 verse 2 tells you to bring your complaint before Adon, before Yahweh, before the Lord. And here you are saying, when people say, how's everything going? Well, everything's great, and even if it wasn't, it don't do me no great. It doesn't do me any good to complain. Your Bible says complain to the Most High if you need to. Stop complaining to yourself, because you're going to complain to yourself anyway. Stop covering up your symptoms and acting like everything's fine when you know what's going down. Be real and talk to the Most High. That's one of the reasons why people don't deal with stuff, is because you've been taught to never deal with the actual issue. Once again, you've been taught, take that cough medicine, stop coughing. Once you stop coughing, just act like nothing's wrong. That's what we've been. We think that we're like, you've been called to be a child of the Most High. What child that has a parent of worth any value cannot go to their parent and say, why are things happening? How you doing, Monterius? Yet you've been taught to be a child, right? You've been taught to be a child. And as a child, and you've been taught as a child, you're not supposed to ever bring up anything. You think they're staying in the child's place. I'm sorry, I missed all that. Don, you said people think they're in control. Addiction is like default settings. If we're careful, if we're careful, if not careful, we'll keep going back looking for that same high, that numbing aid. Yeah, most definitely. Right? Like, my son doesn't need to tell me that he knows more than me, but at the same time, he should be able to come up and be like, Dad, I want to go outside more. How you doing, Minister Select? Burrell, how you doing? Right? My son should be able to come and say, Dad, I want to, do this. Dad, why do I have to do this? Like, every once in a while, he should be able to ask, why? Dad, why do I have to eat vegetables? Our first thing is what? I guarantee you, I know what most of our first thing to say, because our parents said something very similar. First thing that most of us do is say, because I told you. And fine, there are times for that. However, sometimes give them an answer. The disciples asked Yahshua, why are you always speaking to us in parables? He gave them an answer. He said it's because it's parables to them, because it's not for them to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. Minister Tamara said, do you want the issue resolved? Questions answered? You better get a relationship with Yah. And that's where it starts. And we're supposed to be extensions of that. People are supposed to know how the Most High moves because I'm an extension of the Most High. Even if the issue is work related, yeah. Right? Yeah, because of their nutritional value. But I got to tell the child that. The child doesn't know nutrition yet. The child doesn't know that if they eat sugar all day, they're going to start freaking out. Right? The child doesn't know that just because you don't like to eat that much stuff and therefore you only want to eat rice. The child doesn't know that eating rice by itself ain't going to give me nothing. It's not even really going to fill your belly. So now you're going to be a child that's always feeling down, always crying, always all over the place. And it's not for you to know those things per se, but at the same time, I should tell you those things. And therefore, at least you have a reason in your mind that says, okay, they're doing this for a reason. We're extension of Yahweh's mercy and grace. Yeah, like we should be that. Once again, what is the community? Remember, we talked about this. Is on the YouTube channel if you want to go back some. We talked about a community curriculum. What do we have set up to teach these babies it's okay for them to be able to complain? You told them to never complain about anything their entire life. Then you said, why did you tell me the teacher was doing this at school? You told me to never complain, Mom. Why didn't you tell me that coach was doing that to you at school in practice? You told me that I'm not supposed to complain. You told me to man up. We've been taught to never deal with the addiction. Right? We've never been taught to deal with the drug. A child who doesn't feel like they're getting enough attention from their parents is going to go on social media all the time and put out videos so that they can get attention. Social media is a problem out here. All these children looking for this or that or whatever. Fine, you step in the hours that they're giving the social media, you give them those hours. Oh well, I don't have time. I've got to work and blah blah. Okay, well something got to give. Our people always eating unhealthy, this and that or whatever. Okay, well at some point, like we've been asking people, hey, who wants to trade food? Anybody want to do this? Anybody want to do that? And yeah, I know some of it's on pause until probably tomorrow and later this and next week and stuff. And we now have a better way of making sure that we can get to people, and we got admin in place, and we can have these meetings and all these things, and my wife can make certain decisions and things like that, and those who are willing to assist her can be there to assist her and everything. But reality is like we talking about people don't eat right. We can make that happen overnight. And I mean overnight. Like, I mean, when I say overnight, in a couple weeks, we could easily make sure that people that are growing stuff over here can give people seeds over here, or can give people stuff that's already growing. We got people living close enough to each other to where people can just meet up an hour, 2 hours away from each other and just trade some stuff. Like, we have this stuff already, but we're what? We complain about the symptom. Even the complaint becomes addictive. Even the complaint becomes addictive. Some people complain because it's addictive. And so you're looking for watermelon seeds? Well, we might be able to do that for you. But you hear what I'm saying? Like these things are there. I'm saying that we have all these things. It's not as difficult. You hear what I'm saying? It's not as difficult. It's long story short. I'm trying to make sure that we comprehend. It's really not as difficult as we might think. Salah. Right? But we're used to squashing symptoms and then acting like there's no problem. Amen. Hey, yeah, for sure. Those that already have land, because even when we get the land by the end of the year, we still, it'd be nice if we have some stuff that's growing and stuff like that beforehand, and we can transfer some of that stuff. Or in general, just make sure that people are doing stuff. Heck, if you're growing stuff on the land and people are going to be in the community and start buying stuff, we need to make sure that you're getting a percentage of it. It's your land. And we need to make sure that we have people that come by and help. Those are things that we can make happen. When we're talking about meeting with each other, we're going to be meeting up with each other with those who are in the Central North region, right? Wisconsin, that's the next place we go. Wisconsin, Indiana, Illinois, the Dakotas, Ohio, all that stuff. Like, come on out and let's start doing together. Come on out and meet Minister Tamara, who's going to be the person that's going to be over everything going around there at some point anyways. Like, come on out and meet. Come on out and let's talk with one another. Before Kofi shows up, because I ain't the end all be all of anything, let's meet up with each other, right? But we're used to covering up symptoms. Hey, I've come on the live, I do this, that's enough. And then I'll just live the same way, right? I'm not trying to say you have to do this. I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty. I'm just trying to give you what's given me, right? These are examples of ways that we could easily make sure that we can do this. You know how many people live in North Carolina and live in South Carolina? You know how many people live in Georgia? You know how many people live in Florida? You know how many people live in Texas? You know how many people live in Missouri? How many people live in not just Tennessee, but in Memphis, Tennessee? Got a few people in Chicago, got a lot of people in Chicago, Detroit, Indiana. Like this, it's not that we got a couple people now coming back in the Cali area. Like, it's not as much. We got people in upstate New York, in New York City, in Washington, D.C., in Baltimore, Maryland, or around it, right? In Northern Virginia. And that's all DMV area. That's all everybody being within an hour, 2 hours of each other. Like, we have a lot of people that are already in place and in position. We just met with people. We did the South Carolina thing to try and get as many people that wanted to come together. It's not too far, past seeing possibly being in some of these areas again and again and again. We're supposed to meet up October 14th through the 16th. And I'm not trying to say meet up just because we need to meet up. I'm saying we talk about community. We talk about coming together. We talk about doing these things. Well, here we have a community. At this point, it's time to stop Like some of us are addicted to hearing about it, is what I'm trying to say. And it's not just SOC oriented. I'm using this as an example, but most of us are addicted to hearing about it. However, we are not worried about actually doing what we're hearing about. And I'm not, so I'm using that as an example, but now take that back, right? You know, or not take that back, but let's use this in a different context or a different way of looking at the same thing, right? Um, how about this? How many of us are willing, like we hear, hey man, you know, be on your grind. This is how you should pray. This is what we feel about this. This is biblical belief. This is sovereignty. All these things, classes people are taking. How many people have taken sovereignty classes? And I'm not asking you, don't admit, don't raise your hand, don't say anything. I'm not asking you to do it. This is a rhetorical question, right? But how many people have taken sovereignty classes and still haven't got their paperwork done yet? How many people have listened to us talk about soul ties and still haven't started breaking soul ties? How many people have taken classes on marriage and still don't have their marriage with the Most High correct, let alone their marriage with the spouse or getting themselves in order to become a wife? Some people talking about, I don't even see myself being a wife. Well, you got to become a wife before you can see it. I know vision. I know that sounds like a backward statement because I got to see what a wife is and then I can become, right? But how are you going to be a wife? How are you going to have a husband say they see a wife in you and you can't even see it in your daily life yet? Daughters of Zion, even if they're single, they are wives of the Most High. And thanks for the love, Sharice, and thanks for the love bundle of joy. Like this is a real reality that we're dealing with. Where we are addicted to a great many things. We do not like to take care of the actual issue. This is why Western medicine is beating the brakes off us, right? And is able to train us and keep us in this box. It's not only simply because they trained us to do this. It is because that we come from a society and we uphold certain cultural values that tell us that, hey, it's okay for us to not take care of our actual pain, but it's okay for us to cover up the pain. And so as we continue to cover up the pain, right, as we continue to cover up the pain and issues that we're going through, what do? We cover up our pain, we cover up our issues, and then somebody says, okay, well, these are people that like to cover up their pain, and they don't actually like to take care of their issues. So since they're people that just cover up pain, don't take care of their issues, we'll just keep selling them medicine that helps them to cover up their pain and not take care of their issues. Then we say, these people are so terrible because they're taking advantage. The only reason they can take advantage of you is because you have something that allows them to have an advantage. Like there's a reason why somebody's selling you natural medicine. Now, I'm not saying it's bad to sell you natural medicine, but hear what I'm saying. We have gotten to the point where just not like okay, for example, let me say it like this. My wife sells tinctures. She'll give them to you for $20, five of which is because she's going to overnight it to you. So she's not even charging you for sending it. She's just asking, will you take care of sending it? She's not even saying I'll charge $750 and I'll make a $250 profit on it. She's saying so basically you're getting a $15 tincture, right? That other people, you go to even like Walmart's and other these places that you think they're cheap and stuff, and you go to these places and they're going to be, you know, some of these tinctures might be $80 in some of these places, right? You go to Whole Foods, like $80 for some of this stuff. She gives to you for 15. But we are so messed up in our head that people in society who are not of our community that will buy it for 80, but won't buy it for 15. And she actually makes it from scratch, all like literally comes out on property, comes out on land and says, I'm going to just go ahead and get what I already own, give it to the community. If we go to a place somewhere else, hey, while we're riding on the side, while we're traveling 10, 12 hours, might stop on the highway because this is something that only grows in this area, didn't even know it grew, right? We'll give to somebody else, right? And then try to figure out why we have these symptoms in our community where people aren't getting anything, or why other people are doing well. Or if I keep going down the same road, no, let's go a little deeper. She'll give you something that's natural and give it to you for $20. And you'll make sure you go to the doctor's office where they're not going to try to heal you or cure you at all. Hear what I'm saying? And they'll go ahead and say, not only do you need to pay for your insurance, but here's another thing we're going to drop on you. You also need to pay that $25 copay. So your $25 copay and your insurance you're paying for monthly cost you how much more money? $100, $200 more. Some of y'all $300 more, depending on how many people. When I was still paying these ridiculous insurance fees and stuff, 5 people, 4 people, 5 people on the same thing, that's a lot of money, right? Blue Cross Blue Shield, thinking it's the best of the best and all that, paying $250 a month for something that may not even use, right? But all these different things or whatever, you'll pay $250. She says, give us 20. Somebody says, I want to give $250. Now, if she did what businesses do, because we've been preconditioned. Here we're addicted to high value. We like to pay more for everything. Her line, just reach out to her. She's Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can find her on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest, right? And so, but contact her, she'll get back to you, right? But we have all these people. We are addicted to high value. If somebody tells you that diamond is priceless, you'll pay whatever price they say. That's what happens. Somebody tells you that diamond is priceless, and you're willing to pay whatever price they tell you. They say that diamond is priceless. They'll tell you to pay whatever price, or so and you'll pay it. The reality is that there's a whole bunch more diamonds out there, and they've taken a bunch of the diamonds around the world and locked them up in certain vaults so that you can't find diamonds anywhere. And since you can't find diamonds anywhere, right? Hear what I'm saying? Since you can't find diamonds anywhere, you think that diamonds are priceless. No. There are a whole bunch of diamonds. Matter of fact, yeah, they're making man-made diamonds. By the way, man-made diamonds, they sell them for the same thing as the real thing. And if you can actually make crystals. I was actually thinking about doing it as a fundraiser a couple years ago. It takes a little time, but we can make, especially salt crystals and stuff like that. I mean, I won't say overnight you can make those, but within weeks, you can have some really intricate things and stuff like that. You can shape it, you can form it, you can carve it while it's growing. You can have some really nice stuff that pops out. Right now, I'm not saying the workman is not worth their hire, right? But what I'm saying is that we're addicted to high value. So what is high value? Now you got to figure out what that is, because high value is people who are addicted to. So if somebody's really good at your addiction, somebody's social media personality, whatever we call it. What do we call? Not media personalities, but whatever we're called, whatever it's supposed to be, right? And people say, oh, okay, cool. Well, I can't get, this person represents me, which is fine, but it'll be like, I'm going to support this person just because they say a sentence I like, or, like, I'm going to support a person just because they wear what I want to wear and this and that. It's because you're addicted to, like, okay, well, I can live vicariously through somebody else. Like, don't listen to anybody, including myself, an influencer. Thank you. Don't listen to me just because, or anybody else for that matter, because you think that we're doing what you should be doing. Listen to us because we actually have real value. Don't be addicted just because somebody makes you feel good. Right? Don't be Halle Berry out here and you trying to be with somebody just make you feel good. It'll win you an Oscar, but it dang sure makes you look shameful. You know what I'm saying? And that's why on this latest pages, because we always get our pages taken down. On these latest pages, I made it a point to, like, not be about that at all. Like, look, I'm just going to be 100% in. And look, I'm still an activist, right? But I'm coming through an activist, kingdom-based, Afrocentric base, and that is what it is. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. Said not Halle. I mean, it's, Halle won an Oscar, but I don't remember Halle's speech. I remember her crying kind of sort of, but you know what I remember more than that? I remember her saying, make me feel good. And that thing looking very suspicious as far as how realistic that thing was. You said your husband has an alcohol addiction. Yeah. A lot of people do. A lot of people do. Yeah. See, what is value? Exactly. Like, what is value? What is virtue? Even a lot of people don't know virtue. Like, when you talk about a virtuous woman, the word virtue comes from a Latin term meaning virtus. Virtus means how one respects somebody else. That's what we're talking about when we say virtuous. So once again, my wife's name is she's on TikTok, YouTube, website, and Pinterest. She's Bloom and Flourish. Bloom like a rose blooms, BLOOM. Flourish like something flourishes, FLOURISH. Not AND, not the word and, but the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. So look her up there. Her email is bloomandflourish1, the number one, at gmail.com. So if you want to email her direct, you can email her direct there. If not, other than that, if you want more information, feel free to just try and contact us. If you go on TikTok, if you go on our TikTok page, just look up where it says website, click on that. That's our link tree. A whole bunch of stuff will pop up. Send us a message at one of the numbers or email address or on the website or whatever. And I'll make sure that I get you your information. But her name last time, right? Well, I'll say it again at the end. I say it many times throughout. So if y'all just naturally let it come out, come out. But once again, you can get in contact with us at the places that I said. If you're on YouTube or Facebook or on the podcast, you can just look at the description box with the video or the episode. But if you're on TikTok, just go on TikTok where it says website on our page. Click on that. That's our link tree. And then that'll take you to a bunch of places you can go. Contact us. If you want to contact her directly, Bloom like a rose, BLOOM, right? The letter N, not AND, but then the letter N, not and, but the letter N, and then Flourish, FLOURISH. Bloom and Flourish. And if you want to find her at her email address, put a number one at the end of that. Bloom and Flourish, number one at gmail.com. Amen. So, but in these addictions, you got to find that many people are just saying, we got to stop you from drinking. We got to stop you from drinking. We got to get you to do something that's more powerful than drinking. And the person will actually try. The person will actually try their hardest to make that happen. You hear what I'm saying? The person's going to try their hardest to make that happen. But the reality is that we're trying usually to cover up symptoms and we're not dealing with issues. Somebody might be drinking due to the fact that, they were abused, or might be drinking because they feel like they don't make enough money, or might be abused because they just don't want to deal with themselves. They might be abused because they don't have time to deal by themselves. They might abuse themselves because they don't have time to deal with themselves. There's functioning alcoholics. There's functioning drug addicts. I've met people, crack addicts, and they function very well for a time. Eventually, though, it becomes really clear that they're not functioning so well, but they can function. A lot of people can function for years, decades. Some people have been on cocaine their entire lives. Like Johnny Depp, I don't know if he was on cocaine since he was a little child, but he's been drinking and doing stuff like that since he was 11 years old. People are all like, wow, Johnny Depp was crazy at the trial. Johnny Depp looks like a 50-year-old dude that for 39 years of his life has been on drugs. Yeah, people can function, but then they come and they drown in alcohol because they love their family. See, look, can we be honest about this? Like, let's put this in perspective so we can actually show people respect, because we still have to respect these human beings. How you doing, Sister Betty? Like, we still want to make sure we respect these human beings. Look, and congratulations for being clean for over a year, right? There's an issue that's going on, and so these people love you. So like they'll go to work and do things like that. They'll take care of children, try to do all these different things, but they're still dealing with something. But they're like, you know what? I don't have time to deal with it. My family really can't survive if I don't do what I'm supposed to do. And so out of making sure that they provide, they say, okay, I'll mask this. If it means that I got to go drink, I'll drink. Right? If it means that I got to, if I got to smoke a little dope, I'll do it. Shoot up some dope, I'll do it. Right? If it means that I got to take a pill, if I can find a way to get a pain pill, I'll do it. There's so many mothers. There's so many mothers out there, where you open up that medicine cabinet and that mother don't have no sicknesses, but that medicine cabinet is full. Oh, Robert Downey Jr., yeah. And by the way, Robert Downey Jr. once again acknowledges the addiction. So guess what he does? He has somebody, and it's in his contract, and movie studios have in his contract that he's got to have somebody that's there as a coach for him. he invests in his healing, and so do the companies, because they recognize his gift. So they say, in order to use the gift and help you out of the addiction, we have to have somebody to make sure that whenever something, that problem pops up, that you're going to try to make sure that you sprinkle some Jesus on, or whatever you sprinkling, right, or whatever you chopping up and snorting and injecting and et cetera, et cetera. We got to make sure that whatever it is, that whatever that problem is, somebody's there to deal with it with you right away. That's why we do life coaching. That's why we do marital coaching. A lot of the marital issues. Yeah, I get high just to get by, right? You know, people look, man. You know, there's people with physical pain. They take drugs because of physical pain. And by the way, I don't think of marijuana as being a drug per se. You know, I think you should eat it more so than you should smoke it. You know, but at the end of the day, like, you know, marijuana is something that is necessary, but some people just take it just because, right? But some people take it because they're dealing with pain. You know, painkillers start because people legit have pain issues. Be somebody with, excuse me, be somebody with a chronic back issue. That's pain. I don't have a chronic one, but I experienced back pain where I couldn't move. Man, I was like crying. I've experienced pain in my tooth. Like that was pain. And I had to deal with most of it without even being able to get a prescription. You know? So, but these are things that people are doing to mask symptoms. You know, people are doing this stuff to mask symptoms. And a lot of us have been taught, once again, to stop dealing with symptoms only. A lot of us have been taught deal with symptoms. A lot of us have been, or to mask symptoms. A lot of us have been taught, once again, from childhood, stop complaining. How you doing? How you doing, King? Um, a lot of us have been taught stop complaining. Right? A lot of us have been taught stop complaining. Don't tell me this. Don't ask me any questions. Yeah, a lot of us weren't taught that we had options. If mom says that, that's it. Well, yeah, true. Like some things my mom said, I need to just do it. When my dad said certain things, I need to just do it. So, but I praise y'all for my father. My father would allow us to ask questions, and other people, you know, our uncles and aunts and other people would come around and be like, why your children think that they should be able to ask this and ask that? And he was like, because they should. But we were raised in that. We were raised in church. Don't ask no questions. Matter of fact, some of us were raised in churches to where pastors ain't really in charge. So I've actually had it the opposite way sometimes too, to where somebody will say something to me and then I say something back, and they like, you know, why would you say that? It's like, I'm not saying it in a mean manner. You know, I'm allowed to say something back, right? Like if you busy, like people will come on, and I don't mind it, but you know, because people should be able to tell me, hey, try to do this, try to do that, because we all have different gifts. I can't see everything, I can't do everything. But you have people that'll come on, and you know, and they'll be telling me something, they'll talk about how I need to change something for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And I listen, and I'm like, okay, then I say something back. And it's almost like they weren't ready for me to say something back because they weren't used to being challenged. Right, but it's okay. I'm not even challenging. I'm not cussing at you. I'm not fussing at you. I'm not saying anything mean. I'm just like, yeah, but you know, the reason why we do this is this, and so you know, why should we change it? You know, I don't see the reason in it. And somebody be like, oh, well, you didn't listen. No, I listened to you, right? But a lot of us are some of us are addicted to just hearing people say yes, 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 yes. Like I hope and pray that I never have yes men and yes women. You know, I hope we can be agreeable, but I hope that it's never a place to where somebody feels like they just got to say yes just because, you know, I might not let them speak or something crazy like that. That's foolishness. But some people are addicted. So some people get in the position of pastor, you know, in a pastoral role, and they start speaking all this nonsense and telling you all this stuff, and you never see them serve, but they talk about service. You know, you never see them allow other people to speak, but they say make sure that you letting people speak in your house. They are bad examples because they're addicted to power. And that's one of the biggest addictions that's out there. Real talk. There's three of them. We talked about them before. I think we have them on YouTube, on this current YouTube channel. Um, you know, money, power, and sex. Money, power, and sex. You know, money, power, sex. You want to see who somebody is, right? See what happens when they get access to money, because a lot of people are addicted to money. And here's a lot of stuff. A lot of people talk trash about other people's addictions because they've never been introduced to that stuff. A lot of people say, "Man, if I had money, I'd do blah blah," and then they get a little something. Now, I'm not trying to say this because I want y'all to flood us with stuff, but I'm just gonna give you a real example, right? I've had a lot of people, right? I'm not gonna tell you who it is, but I have a lot of people. Man, when I get it to God promise, man, we're gonna give you this. We're gonna give you guys this. We're gonna let you guys use this land. We're gonna let you do this, blah blah. And sometimes I'm slow. I've admitted this to some people. Sometimes I'm slow to actually allow people to help because I've heard that song and dance so many times that I'm just like, oh, this more of the same. You know, because that's a lot of people's prayer life, even. You know, y'all bless me with $5 million. When I get 5 million, I promise you I'm gonna tithe 500,000 and I'll do your will and blah. Like people pray like that. For real, for real. People pray like that. People pray, yeah, if you just help me, God, if you just give me just this one time, just help me this one time. I promise you, if you just help me this one time, I'll never do it again. And he just looking at you like, that's when you should know he knows your heart. He's just looking at us like, I seen what you done. I know what your heart is. How you doing, Minister Select Omar? You know, he's like, I know your heart. And people say, you know, just give me the money. Then they get the money, they don't do nothing. They didn't mind when we had the money to make sure that they got what they were supposed to get, but when it's time to reciprocate, you know, where you at? And I'm not saying that's everybody. We have a lot of people who are blessed, and I'm not trying to say whether you give money or not. I'm not saying this is what this is about. I'm just trying to give you a practical example. Give people access to money, power, and sex. You'll see addiction come up real quick. Prayer, communication with the Most High. And remember, what did they say? 7% of communication is verbal. So that's 93% of your communication ain't even supposed to be when you stop and actually start talking. Okay. So, but yeah, you know, when we're sitting up here and we're talking about all these different things, like we have to be in a position. This whole thing is advice on talking about what the spirit of addiction is. So, you know, addiction, when people are talking about it, people talking about, oh yeah, so and so does this with their money, so and so does that with their money. When you get money, like I can tell where people's hearts are a lot of times because all I gotta do is check your checkbook. Like if I want to see what somebody's really about, you tell me that you a workout warrior. Let me see your gym membership. Let me see what food you buy. Let me see how many times you went to McDonald's. If you're somebody trying to heal, let me see, you know, how many times that you ate natural food. We can find out real quick. Ain't nothing but a thing. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Right? The Most High wants to see what your treasure is. See, like He'll give you the money if it's going to support the treasure. Right? He'll give you the money if you're going to support the treasure. To show the receipts, yeah. He'll give you the money if you're going to support the treasure. You think the money is the treasure. Money's not even real. Yeah, many people talk the walk, but they don't walk the walk for sure. You said, well, I'm in the business today. Yeah, a lot of people, real talk. Like you can check to see what somebody's gonna do or how they're gonna be. Because all I gotta see is where your money is. Because where you're like your money and your treasure, all that it's gonna be in the same place. Your heart, all that's in the same place. It don't take much. Like I can see if you're gonna be effective in something. You know, we're getting into a place where, you know, hopefully, you know, by the end of this year, but maybe next year too, where we're not just going to be giving out. Um, you know, at some point, we don't plan on just giving out a stipend or something here and there to people that are helping. But you know, we're going to have people in actual positions where they can leave where they are and they can actually function in society and be able to live righteously and purely and truly based off of the donations and stuff that we're being able to come upon. You know, we're trying to establish land and stuff first. But once that stuff starts happening, then we're going to start looking at making sure people are getting what they need. And you got to comprehend, like, you're going to find out, it's real easy to to find out where people are, right? So we understand we got to make sure that we're giving and putting our money where our mouth is and stuff too, and that's what we plan on doing. But and putting all this stuff together and starting to have to really start looking at stuff and investing in things and starting to figure out how to pay this person and that and doing all these different things that we've had to start coming up with. I promise you, like, I promise you, this is, you know, when you start looking at money, you start really realizing what you into or not. What will you spend money on? You said, how do I send to this place? Well, we speak 3 hours a day. If you want to come and look at some of the stuff, we actually have a YouTube channel that's called hashtag Find Kofi. It's on like pretty much almost every video that I make. Hashtag FINDKOFI. But go on there and look at it, listen, see what you get out of it. There's hours upon hours upon hours. I mean, literally hundreds of hours. At one point, it was thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even, but they took down the last YouTube page. But you can feel free to go there. I have a specific task for today. If I can get into making sure that I go over my journey again, because we've talked about some of this stuff already. So we've been on since 8 a.m. Eastern. We're on every rising at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. If you'd like to be able to find the recordings and things like that, feel free. If you want to get in contact with me, I do like coaching one-on-one, and I don't necessarily do it for money. It's for donation. If you don't want to do a donation, you just want to talk, like, let's talk. So you have access to those things. I apologize. I'm like, I can't take the whole line. We're on like 4 different platforms at the same time. It's kind of difficult for me to stop everything and just come to the one thing. But I'll try my best to squeeze it in if you don't mind. But if you listen long enough, I promise you we'll hit some of those things, because we're talking about the ascension now. We're talking about the process now. These things that I'm talking about are things that I had to do, that had to go through. So, but these are things that we have to look at. How you doing, LaFarge? These are things that we have to look at and consider and realize and recognize and make a part of our daily walk and our daily growth, our daily patterns. Like, put your money where your mouth is extreme is a saying that we've heard, but we don't follow it. And once again, I'm sorry for the noise in the background. I forgot they were going to be working outside today. I'll try to double check, and if they end up working tomorrow, I'll try to make sure I can go back inside real quick. I kind of got this huge setup out here. I can't really go away from it, but these are the things that we have to speak on and we have to think about as far as a community, and as far as personally, right? As far as personally, so these are personal journeys, and so I can give you tools, but I still can't work them out for you either. That's another thing. But yeah, put your money where your mouth is. I'm always reminded of Matthew chapter 13, where it talks about how you have the man who found a treasure hidden in the field. And it said, for the joy of all he had, he went and sold everything that he had so that he could have access to the field, right? The treasure was the thing that was not to be moved and tampered with. He was going to take ownership over the treasure by leaving it in place. And he sold everything. He put his money where his mouth was, so that all of his stuff was focused on the land, because if he owned the land, he owned the treasure. A lot of people want to take the treasure out of its place, or take it without selling what they do to own the land. If you own the land, you own the treasure, right? If you own the environment, if you take ownership over your environment, the treasure is already in the correct environment. The treasure comes out the environment. The environment is not there because of the treasure, right? The treasure is in the environment. The environment is not because of the treasure. You hear what I'm saying? Like, you got to build up an environment that allows treasure. Yeah, Yashua said the same thing. Sell all your possessions. He was talking to somebody else at a different thing. But yeah, the guy came to him and he said, I obey the law and I've done all these things since I was a little child. And so Yashua didn't say those things weren't important. He said, that's great. That's awesome. He said, now here's the next level. Can you sell everything? Right? Because you're rich. So if you can put your money where your mouth is, put your riches and invest in the kingdom, he said, then that's when I see. Right? And nobody, and look, I'm not here to tell you, because I don't know what his next move was going to be. But who's to say that the Most High wouldn't have done what he did with Job? Are you willing to give up everything and I give you twice as much as everything as you lost? Remember, Peter was married. The Apostle Peter, Simon, he was married. And he followed Christ. He had to let his wife know. He had to let his family know, like, look, this is the Christ. I don't know what to tell y'all, but I'm gonna follow him. Like that's what he had to do. You know what I'm saying? So like you got to recognize and realize, like, you got to put your money where your mouth is. That's why the tithe is something like, watch this. People get caught up on the tithe. 10% of your time, your talent, your effort, your resources, and yes, even your finances, your prayers, things like that. 10% of your day, right? 10% of your day, somebody says, give 10%. 24 hours in a day, supposedly, right? It's a little off, but 24 hours is what we're used to. Somebody says, give 24 hours a day. Somebody says, that's impossible. I can't give 24 hours. Okay. So if we take that, right? How many minutes, right? So we got 600 times 2, 1200, plus 180. So what's that? 1380? Is that? Did I do that right? 60 minutes in an hour. 60 times 10 is 600. 600 times 2 is 1200. That's 20. Then 4 more hours. That's 240. 240. No. 240. I don't know where I got 180 from. 240. So 240 plus 1200. So that's 1440. Right? So that means that you need to give up 100. Could you give Yah every day 140 minutes? Right? Did I do that right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. 144 minutes. 1,440 minutes in a day. Could you give up 140 minutes? Can you give him 140 minutes? That's what a tithe is. It's not him asking for all, even though we should be willing to give all. But can you give him 10%? That's all a tithe is. Whether it's your time, talent, effort, whatever. Can you give him 10%? Right? Can you set up out of 1,440 minutes a day? Can you set up 140 that belong to him? See, when you think about that, and we have a live that goes 140 minutes plus, that shouldn't be that difficult. Or whatever you're going to do. If you're going to read the Bible, if you're going to pray, right? 140 minutes is all he requires. But we have a problem with tithing. Why? Because we're addicted. We're addicted. Some of us are hoarders with time, or doing whatever we want to do with it, or keeping whatever we want. You're addicted. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your time where your mouth is. Put your talent where your mouth is. I believe in what you're doing, SOC. I believe in what you're doing, Israel. I believe in what you're doing, Yahweh. I believe in what you're doing, husband. I believe in what you're doing, wife. Okay, where's your tribute? People think we're wrong to ask it, but you want to be an American citizen, they ask for a tribute of 50, 60, 70%. And they'll get their 50 off top. They're not even going to see if you have faith. They know your faith is wishy-washy. Right? Churches started following that same thing. Some of these big time churches, they follow the same thing. If you really want to be in us, if you really want to be part of what we're doing, they say you got to give us 10%. You got to already have that coming out your check. Now we ain't going there, because that means that it doesn't. You didn't have to make the decision. You should make a decision regardless of what you want to give. Right? But hear what I'm saying. It don't got to be to us. Whoever you're giving it to. If you're giving it to, the animal kingdom, whatever you're doing. Right? Whatever you're doing, whoever you're giving it to, you're giving it to little babies. If you're giving it to your city, if you're giving it to your family, whatever it is, where's your tribute? That's what a tithe is. That's why they got the land of Canaan. Abraham paid a tithe to Melchizedek. And later on, where did his babies go? By the way, when they were in the land of Goshen, they were already in Canaan. So when Israel began, they began in the place that he gave tribute. Then when Israel was freed and left with Kemet and left with Cush, and they went into the wilderness and then went into Canaan, where did they go? Back to where the tribute was. You go back into where your tribute is. But you don't have no tribute. You're addicted to keeping the money. You're addicted to keeping the time. You think that a success is something that you won't ever get again. You're addicted to that first moment. So you say, okay, my success is in this job, so I'm going to just stay here. I'm not going to try and do anything. I'm not going to try and give anybody else. I'm not going to try to be better. I'm not going to try to push myself. I'm not going to try to go to classes. I'm not going to try to do whatever. You're addicted to that. I meet so many different, usually as brothers, but brothers and sisters, but usually as brothers, and I'll meet them, and it's a very masculine thing for a lot of guys to keep telling you, back in 1975, I used to have this, I used to have that. Back in 1992, bro, I had this business and that business. Man, you should have seen me then. And you'll see them 2 years later, they still talking about 1992. And 2 years after that, they talking about 1992. And 20 years after that, they'll be talking about 1992. And you're like, bruh, at some point, I need to see something new from you. It's 2012, and you still talking about 1992. 10 years after that, 30 years, 3 decades later, you still talking about 1992. And really, we don't worry about the money because the money's not real. You don't want the money, you want the thing that the money's get. So even if you get money, you give so that you can get. You sieve so that you can receive. That's natural law, or law of attraction, even if you guys don't want to go biblical, right? That's natural law, law of attraction, universal law. It's also kingdom law. It's also marital law. It's also law of equity. If I give something, I should receive something. That's why they have a UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, that people use to make sure if you give something and somebody tries to give you something that's not of value, or they're disrespectful to the contract that you had, it's there to protect you. Right? These things are there. You hear what I'm saying? Like, these things are there for you. Even capitalism, they capitalize on the fact that you don't recognize that capitalism is defined as a system that uses politics and economics to control trade and industry, that a trade and industry is used by private corporations and not the government, because the government works for the private corporations. If you comprehended that you were sovereign and therefore you can become a private citizen and really become a private corporation, then you won't have to worry about dealing with private corporations, because they do the same thing that you're allowed to do. You mad because somebody's not paying taxes, but you shouldn't be paying taxes if you know what to do. You give Caesar's things to Caesar. Well, if Caesar has it set up to where you could be a non-citizen national, why in the world are you trying to be a citizen of the United States corporation? But we don't comprehend how to use law and case study and use it in everyday life. Right? A private citizen gives tribute. Somebody who makes money, watch this. Somebody who makes money off of investments must first invest. That's a simple word. However, for somebody, that's a word. Somebody who makes money in investing must first invest. But we are addicted, right, to keeping. We are hoarders. Hoarders are addicted to stuff. Anything that they touch, it must remain theirs. And I cannot give it up, even if it would get me something greater. Right? Hoarders want clean places, but you can't have a clean place if you have no place to put things at. Hoarders want space, but if you can't throw anything, hoarders want cleanliness, but you can't have cleanliness if you got trash all over the place. Right? People addicted to stuff in the spirit want to be clean or legal, but you can't be clean or legal. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I did not know this was where it is going. Hallelujah. I felt that one. People who are illegal or unclean in the spirit, you can't ask for cleanliness in the spirit if you aren't willing to let some things go. You are addicted. Thanks for being part of the community, Sleepy. Right? You are what? You are addicted. Right? We've been talking about the spirits of addiction this whole time. So like I said, if you want to look at the recording, I'll try to go over some of it as best I can. Right? But we've literally been talking for coming up on 2 hours now. We're like 15 minutes away from 2 hours, so I can't go over everything, right? And we'll be on for quite some time still. So if you stick around, I promise you we'll get to some. That's why I would say we're on every rising at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time, and we record all these. So if you go to our YouTube channel, which if you are on TikTok right now, all you got to do is go to our where it says website. That's our link tree. When you click on that, it'll pop up all these different places you can go. Go to YouTube if you want to like, share, subscribe, share all that great stuff, and hit the notification tab so you know when things are coming out. But you can also just wait for it to pop up. Once that recording pops up, feel free to go in there and get that information. And we thank you in advance for doing it. If you want to become a Patreon member, go a little further and stuff. You'll get some more stuff that you don't even get on there as well. and you don't have to wait for certain things to even be uploaded from our evening sessions and stuff, right? But this is something that we got to get to. We got to get to where a lot of people who are trying to be clean or legal, you got so much stuff that you're hoarding, and you don't recognize that in order to be a great investor, you got to invest. And in order to be great and have more time, guess what you got to give now? Time. And when you give time now, what'll happen is you won't have to give as much later on. And matter of fact, it'll seem like you always have time, but you got to invest time to watch time double and triple and quadruple and quintuple and sextuple and septuple, etc., to where it finally gets to a place where you can say, "Oh, okay, now this is this is what this is what having my own free time looks like. This is what not having to have a 9 to 5 looks like." But you got to invest it now. Where's your tribute in time? If you want to receive prayer, you got to be somebody who prays for people. Right? We're addicted to getting prayer, but we don't want to put in prayer so we can get more. Watch this. If you watch this. The things that you were, I didn't know we were going here at all. Let's just be obedient. If you are addicted to something, what's happening is this. Wow, this is simple. Whew, okay. If you are addicted, I don't even know if I can say it. I'm trying to make sure that I don't lose myself when I say this, because this is powerful right here. We could probably just, after we finish this, it could be done. If you are addicted to prayer, I got to calm myself down. I'm sorry. Okay. If you are addicted to prayer, or if you're, watch this, I'm sorry, if you're addicted to anything, what's happening is more than likely something has happened to where it stifled your ability to give. I don't know if that makes sense. We're going to try to make this make sense, right? If I am addicted to something, if I'm looking for something, if I'm lusting after something, more than likely what has happened over time, what has happened over generations even, is that I have been missing something and I haven't even known to invest something. If I need something to happen in my life, I am more than likely, not always, but more than likely what has happened is I have not invested it. You said, so no 9 to 5, prayer, somehow money. That's not what was said at all. I don't even think in the time that you've been listening, that was what was said. Right. But what I'm saying, like, I don't even think prayer and money were mentioned at the same time, other than saying you got to give a tribute. So I didn't say giving prayer means that you get money. Right. Whatever you're missing, if you're right, usually it's because you're not investing in the first place. Right. Well, if you're saying you're addicted, you're seeking too much, not necessarily. Like, somebody could be addicted to somebody can be addicted to sex because they never had somebody say you're beautiful when you were young. So somebody's addicted to somebody not even telling them that they love them, but at least showing that they love them through a marital act, which should only be for husband and wives, but they're addicted to it because they say, hey, you know what, at least somebody said they love me. I'm not saying everybody, because I'm not anti-humanity, right? But, a lot of people that I talk to, because I do life coaching, who are LGBTQ plus, a lot of guys will talk about how they didn't have fathers in their lives and how they ran into other men, and those men gave them something, whether, on a too early age or in their adult life, gave them something as far as they never got. They never got a hug. They never received this. Sometimes they were in prison, so they couldn't even be around a woman, like different things like that. They got something that they needed. And so now, they're addicted to something. They've told me outright that. I'm not saying that that's everybody's experience. I'm saying some people I talk to, like, usually the things that we are addicted to is that we finally got a taste of something that helps us to mask symptoms but not deal with issues. Okay. My issue is that I don't have a place. I've moved 15 times growing up as a little boy. I get a little taste of money, and so I say, wow, money paid bills. I'm gonna work hard. I'm never gonna be broke again. But I might not treat my wife with respect, not because I don't like her, but because, hey, like, babe, I just got to make money. I work 3 jobs. I don't even need 3 jobs. One job pays 6 figures, but I might get 3 jobs just because I'm never going to be broke again. Well, I'm addicted to the job. because I've tasted a little something that I never got before. But I promise you, instead of working, having a job for everybody else, if I had invested in my wife and I invested in my children and I invested in my own business, that I get to a place to where I can make enough of my business to where I don't have to worry about being broke anyways, and my family can get what they want. I didn't invest. So I got jobs without investing in the business. If I want the money, then I could invest in myself. I could invest in the business. Once again, though, money's not even real. So money's a symptom. Money by definition is not even real, because money has to be backed up. Fiat cash has to be backed up by gold or silver. There's no gold or silver in the United States of America anymore. So, right, I'm not saying it doesn't exist physically, but what I'm saying is the United States corporation does not own enough gold or silver to back up the money that they have, which means that all the money that we're using is worthless anyways. Right? So we're having conversation. A lot of things that we're lusting for, or that we're becoming um, hooked on, a lot of things that we are addicted to, come from a place to where we're missing some things spiritually. Yeah, you can't expect apples where you've planted thorns. That's a great point. You want freedom, stop making covenants and be free in Yahweh's kingdom. Yeah, like, and even freedom is not free. So if I want to be free, guess what I got to invest in? Invest in freedom. That's why I need y'all to be free. I need you guys to think differently. I need you guys to have your own businesses. I need you guys to thrive. I need you guys to survive, because if you're free, then guess what? Then the people I roll with, we all free. Invest in what it is that you need. Once again, I can put a tourniquet on it, but at some point, if I don't take the tourniquet off and invest in the wound, I'll lose the rest of the arm. It'll become gangrene, and gangrene is going to be worse than the initial injury. It's the words of wisdom you need to invest to get. Those who put out garbage will only get garbage. Yeah. You said if money isn't real, can you have the rest of it? Sure. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to get land? Are you going to get anything of value? Are you going to do anything that helps the community? That we can have a conversation. Because just because money's not real doesn't mean that we can't take the things that are fleeting, like money, and turn it into real things. So I'm not in the business of just giving you something just because, whether it's real or not. I mean, my child can play video games. Those aren't real, but depending on what video games I let them play, and at what age they are, and what gateways they open, they can have a lot of different things. So I don't just invest in anything. But I'm talking about as far as the actual definition. We're into this thing where we're trying to be defined. All this behind me, right, is worth more than what I make. You know what I'm saying? But that's real. My wife, family, invested in having something that's real. My wife's business is based off of being able to go around and stuff that's growing around all around me right now. You know, I could grab some of these things are heavy, but legit, some of this stuff that's just growing. I don't even know if I should move some of this stuff. Hopefully I won't get in trouble. But some of this stuff right here, this is just being able to have time, talent, effort, energy. Some of this is small versions of it. Some, I can't move big stuff. I don't know if you can see, right down here. This is stuff that's invested. Uh, you know, um, we got, you got lemon tree stuff growing, watermelon stuff growing. You got turnip greens growing, which are power greens. People paying all this stuff. This is all. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm gonna get in trouble if I move some of this stuff. But like, this is all stuff. Like, we got aloe growing in the corner. Tomatoes are growing up out front. Regular tomatoes and grape tomatoes. Like, these are things that you just invested some time, and it became something that's worth it. These are things that, like, when you invest, like, but we are, now think about how many people are addicted to bad food. And if we would stop investing in bad food, and we would just invest in, and thank you, I'm not necessarily coming at you, Inferno, but I'm just saying, invest, and I'm not saying, I wasn't even saying as far as you want free food or free money. I'm just saying, as far as anything we give, we should be giving, looking at what we're investing in. That's all I'm saying, right? So, but I'm just saying, like, What are you investing in? People talking about we need this, we need that. Like, imagine if we said this with the thing with the land project, where we said if we had 30 families that were willing to give $1,000 a family, right? That means that you got $30,000, go get some land and start doing something on it, right? If we had, think about if we had 30 families that were willing to just grow food. How much food do you have as a community? Right? Like these are simple. These are simple things. Imagine how many people have better memories if they just eat real food. Like, that's investing, right? And a lot of us are addicted to things because we don't invest. Of course, you're going to be addicted to bad food because nobody ever told you that in order to get food, just invest some time, invest a seed in the ground, invest some water, invest some music if you want to give it that, invest some sunlight. See if you don't get food. Invest. That's natural law. Whatever I invest in is what grows. All these trees behind me, they invested in the soil a long time ago. So now they exist. Yeah, but we're chasing after things because we haven't invested in them. We're addicted, so we haven't invested in proper love, or nobody's invested proper love in us our entire lives. And so now all of a sudden, somebody gives us something that looks it might not even be real love, but at least it's a piece of something we've been missing. And so even though we aren't looking at the puzzle holistically, they gave us a piece. There might be 25 of the pieces missing, but maybe out of 75, they gave us 75 pieces to the puzzle. And that looks a lot better than what it was when it was just somebody giving me 2 pieces of the puzzle. You know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and dig in. No, make sure that you get everything out that puzzle. Get 100%. Make sure you see that thing holistically. Invest. Right? That's what happens when we start fiending for stuff. We start fiending for stuff that we've been looking for, and somebody gives us a piece, and all it takes is a piece. That's why you study to show yourself approved, and then even bring it before Elohim. Elohim says, "Don't even bring it to me," right? If you haven't fully invested, we just go, "Oh yeah, I'm just coming to you, and just tell me something, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Study to show yourself approved, and then what? Unto Elohim." Then bring it to me, and then we can have a conversation about this, because I don't want you to be a mindless zombie. I want you to see this on your level. When you see it on your level and you got it there, then watch what happens when I give it to you on this level. Boom, right? Like, if you thought this was mind breaking down, down here, what's going to happen when I show you what it is to live up here? Even in that, like, where is your investment? Bible says the Holy Spirit, she leads us to all truth, and she's the comforter and all the things. But it also tells you, though, that she will bring things to your remembrance. That means that there's things you're dismembered from, cut off from. So now you got to come back into remembrance. You got to come back into union with it. Yahshua tells you, yes, no man knows the day nor the hour, but he says in Matthew 24:14, when you speak this particular message, not a whole bunch of people, when we start talking about this particular message and it goes throughout all the world, he says, then I'm coming back. That means you got to invest for him to show up. Because if not, if he just had a day or whatever, then that's just no free will. But you as humanity have the ability, you as Yashtel, you as a belief system, you as a culture, you as a kingdom have the right to be able to go ahead and give your king entry, right? That's why he says stuff like, behold, I stand at the door and knock, trying to get into your church service. Will you let me in? Try to get into your family. Will you let me in? Try to get into your finances. Will you let me in? Right? People addicted. They knew what Christ was supposed to do when he came back. Still killed him. Because they had to change the version of Christ, because in their mind, the Messiah had to be somebody who was going to meet their expectations, because they had changed the law so much. That's why Romans chapter 10, verse 1 says, it's still Paul's heart that all Israel would be saved. But he had to tell you, verse 3, you know what, though? The problem is that a lot of these cats in Israel, what we started doing, we started making our own version of the law and not being obedient to the law that was made. Therefore, verse 4, you get to a place where he says that law is not really expedient on any level for myself or our people. Then he starts talking about being saved, verse 9 and 10. Right? Then he starts talking about those things. So you've been waiting on this word. You grew up in a chaotic, abusive, alcoholic family causing trauma in you. Sorry to hear that. You know, and watch this. And you said expectations can be brutal. Like there are a lot of people who function off of expectations that are not even close to being righteous. I'm sorry, David. You said, wow, that's parable when the master gave the three slaves money and some invested and one didn't. Yeah, that's all they have. Remember, if he had invested, he already knew what the master told him to invest in. Thank you for bringing it up. If he had invested, he already knew how the master invested. He focused on the negative. He didn't invest because he said, "I know if I invest, or if I do wrong, there's punishment coming from you." Right, but he didn't look at the fact that he had somebody, and you got to think about how much gold and silver that was, right? But how you doing, Oakland? Oak, right? You got to see how much that was. There were talents. A talent is 200 pounds of gold or 100 pounds of silver. Let's go with gold though, just to show you the heaviness, the weight, the glory. That's what the word glory means, by the way, the weight on it, right? So one man had 5 talents, used what the master told him, invested at the right place. He ended up with 200 or 2,000. So he had 1,000 pounds of gold. He ends up with 2,000 pounds of gold. That's a ton of gold. There's a second guy had 2 talents. We had 400 pounds of gold. Ends up doubling up. He gets 800 pounds of gold. There's another guy. He had 200 pounds of gold. That's 1 talent. He buried it. Now, question: do you think it would have been easier to invest that money, or being addicted to the gold, keeping it? Do you think it was harder to actually hoard it and bury it? And by the way, when he buried it, he had to watch over it all the time because back then, see, nowadays we got lazy thieves. Back then, if somebody was going to rob you, that's why it talks about that our treasures. It talks about burying and digging for treasures and stuff like that, because thieves used to actually bury underground to try and get into your tent or your home. So like people would actually bury their stuff underneath the ground or keep it right above the ground, and thieves would try to come underneath. So you had to be on watch in many different ways to make sure nobody was trying to get to your stuff. It was crazy, right? So he buried it, but that meant that it might even been more susceptible. And then he couldn't tell anybody that he buried it, where he buried it. So he just buried it, hoping that nobody get it. And he was worried the whole time, anxious the whole time. Then finally the master comes back and he says, "See, master, I didn't do anything with it." And that's why he called him wicked and also called him slothful, lazy. Your laziness could have lost the gold. We don't even think about that in the whole context. But your being lazy with it could have lost the gold. If you had invested it, you would have doubled up, and it would have been easier for you to double up because somebody else who had a thousand ended up with a ton. I gave you 100, or I'm sorry, I gave you 200 pounds. And yes, you gave me 200 pounds, but now also it's buried. So it's dirty, it's nasty, it's disgusting, like all these things when you could have invested it. So he says, you know what? Since this person wouldn't do what they were supposed to do, he said, take the 200 pounds of gold from him and just give it to the person that has a ton. Somebody says, oh man, that's terrible. That's the rich getting richer. No, like he's going to actually value the system. He's going to do what he's supposed to. He's going to provide the way he's supposed to. And he's going to help to push people in the proper position. And those who are on the podcast, thank you for being on with us. The podcast is about to end pretty soon. So if you want to jump on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, feel free to do so. Just look up hashtag Find Kofi, hashtag FINDKOFI on those platforms. You'll be able to join us live for a little bit longer. Thank you so much. Right. So you gotta recognize. Oh, Brenda, I don't comprehend. You don't agree with the Messiah or the point of view of having a Messiah? I don't comprehend. Are you talking about Messianic? Are you talking about Messianic Jews? I don't comprehend. Sorry, I just want to make sure I comprehend before I have a conversation with you. But yeah, so we're dealing with these things, and we're not even recognizing what's going on. We're not even thoughtful of these things. How you doing, Sarita? Thanks for being part of the community. We're not even aware, thoughtful of these things and how these things happen culturally. That's why we always talk about culture on here. We're always going to speak to culture, right? And so you're dealing with a spirit of addiction, but you won't invest. And so because of lack of investment in you, or you investing in yourself, or investing in the Most High, or investing in your people, etc., because of lack of that investing, now somebody gives you a little piece of something and you're addicted. You're always searching for it through another platform, because you didn't come to get it through what? The way, the truth, and the life. So you're addicted. Yeah, I've come across Messianic Jews. I knew what Messianic Jews were before I even, did the Christianity thing for a little bit. So, yeah. But Messianic Jews is a very interesting. First of all, a Jew being, Messianic, are people basically supposed to say that we're Jews who believe in the Messiah. But then when you start twisting it to say that you are the chosen people, we got some interesting things going on too. If you're going to make it basically a historical shift, if that's your attempt, then you should be true historically. I'll leave that part there though. But we're dealing with a lot of different things, and people are trying to talk about moving and getting past these addictions. And you gotta, in order to move past these addictions, you gotta first of all recognize you have addictions. And then after we talk about recognizing, that we have addictions, now what we got to do is we have to say, okay, what is the cause of the addiction? What is the addiction covering up? The addiction covers a symptom. The addiction is not even a symptom. I used to say, because I heard this from people, that addictions were symptoms. Oh, no. I got what you were saying, Brenda. Yeah. I used to say, like, people used to teach that addictions are symptoms. No, addiction's not a symptom. Addiction is a medication. It covers up a symptom. Right? And addiction, excuse me, the addiction is the medication. It is not the symptom. The addiction is the medication. It is not the symptom. So we need to figure out how to get you on some natural medicine, some spiritual natural medicine. Until lack of investment leaves you open and vulnerable. Yeah. And so what are you investing in? So watch this. If we need your spirit, man, to be back on track, if we're looking for your spirit, man, to recover, right? And you're going through some things, you're going through some soul tie issues, you're going through some, just in general, I need to change, I need to go and do all these things, right? All right. We have to get to this place. Amen, Minister Select. Minister Sonia. Thanks for being on. Right. If these things are going on. Oh yeah. Hey, brother Clem. Yeah, I know you were on the podcast. If these things are going on, then you got to figure out this medication is covering symptoms. So your sadness is the symptom, right? Your frustration is the symptom. In essence, really, you could even say like that. There's a spirit attached to alcohol, right? Because alcohol is a depressant. So you're depressed. Why would you drink a depressant? Because misery loves company. So you're accompanying your depression with a depressant, and y'all get along real nice, right? That's what we're dealing in. You're taking your depression and you're gonna line it up with the depressant, and y'all gonna have a nice conversation. It's not nice at all, but in your mind, yeah, now I can get bold. Now I can speak out on things. Now I can, and truth starts coming out. See, watch this. You live in a society where you're not supposed to complain. You're not supposed to tell the truth, right? You're not supposed to complain. You're not supposed to tell the truth. You're not supposed to do these things. So now you get a depressant. Your depressant says, "Yeah, man, shoot. Nobody else will let you talk truth. Nobody else will let you speak your heart. Nobody else will let you tell about your situation. Nobody else will tell you how bad this is. Nobody will tell you how much hurt and anguish and anxiety there is. No problem. I got you. Go ahead, spill your guts." And so finally, you get to tell the truth, and you go, "Man, that felt great. Maybe I should have more next time." Right? You invest. So you feel like the alcohol invests in your pain. You feel like the drug invests in your pain. I've talked to addicts, right? Being homeless and being in the shelter before. I talked to an addict, and he told me that that dope had loved, he said that no woman had ever loved him on the same level as Dope. And when you hear that initially, you think that that's a crazy statement, which it is, but you think to yourself, this person's just crazy. That's what you think in your spirit. Like, this person is just crazy. This person just wow, wilding out. Thanks for the love, appreciate it. This person is just out there. But what he's saying is that, look, man, I've been in relationship with women, and I feel like Dope has met me on my level, and it's appreciated me, it's lifted me up, and I feel like I've never been lifted up. That's what he's telling you. He's telling you that I have a symptom. I have this sadness and this depression and this being on a low class and having all these burdens and having all these different things, and I'm frustrated. And so he says, man, you know what I got with this woman called Dope, and man, she made me feel great. I've never felt like this before. That's what he's saying. So when you hear it, you go, okay, now I get it, right? When you hear it with the proper context, you go, okay, I don't receive that. I don't believe that about you. I don't think that's healthy for you. However, I comprehend now. I can now empathize and even at times sympathize with that. I get it. I get what that is now. Like, because now I can relate. I know what it is to have people make you feel bad. And so if you're saying that this thing makes you feel great, even though I know it's only going to be for a fleeting moment, and it's going to ultimately start to disconnect you and mess up your melanin, mess up your pineal gland, mess up your soul, mess up your spirit, mess up your lifestyle, mess up your ability to think, cause you to live a shorter life, right? But I get why you would search for a moment of clarity, a moment of feeling like you belong. You said don't quit drinking the drugs, become someone who doesn't drink or do drugs. Yeah, I hear you. You know, but these are things that are real. And once you hear it, you go, oh, okay, I get the context, right? But he still doesn't recognize that he's talking about he's in love with the medication. He has become the addiction, right? The person who's looking for the likes on social media, the addiction. The person who's looking for the person who's looking for sex, right? The oxytocin levels and everything, addiction. The person who's looking to have babies, because somebody who likes some people like to have babies, not because people will be like, oh, you want babies because you want the state to take care of you. Some people like to have babies because oxytocin level, and the baby makes you feel great, and you look in your baby's eyes, and the baby looks in yours, and the baby breastfeed, and you look at the baby, and you coo at the baby cools back. That's oxytocin. That's powerful. That's something that makes you feel great. Then the baby leave, right? That's postpartum. Postpartum is a big issue. Why? Because a lot of women have these babies inside of them, and now the baby's not inside. And when the baby's not inside, the baby, is not loving them from the same area that they were. And I might have been feeling like I was missing something, or maybe I thought that I had all this love, and then I found what it is to carry life inside of me and to be connected to life, and now I'm disconnected from it. Right? Some women addicted to the feeling, and postpartum becomes part of it. Like, there's a lot of different, and I'm not saying that's all women. I'm just telling you, there's a lot to this thing as far as addiction, and usually it's because something spiritually is missing. If I have the kingdom in me and I lose the child, I know that I'm not losing the child. The child and I are forever connected, and the kingdom that's in me will eventually be in the child, and therefore we'll always be connected, right? But there's a lot of people don't have that mentality. And even if you do, it's still different than going through it physically, right? Like, a lot of us aren't thinking about these things. We're carrying addictions, and it's because we haven't invested. Like, invest the kingdom in you before you get the child. And in that way, when you have the child, the kingdom is something that's still there. It never went anywhere, and it didn't leave when the child was there. It was there to cover the child and to cover the baby. And so the Most High has had a relationship with you and the child while all this has been going on, while having a relationship with the husband. All these things have been in place, but we don't lift up those things. That's not part of our standard anymore. We don't care about that. It's not something that we need. It's not something that we value. It's not something that we put in honor and put up front and make sure that we put effort in and energy and time. And once again, this tithe, this tribute, like, where's your time at? We want to have families, but we don't develop families. We want to develop families, but we don't develop an environment that allows families to exist. We want people to get along, but we don't set up an environment where it's okay to apologize. That's why people don't apologize, because you're addicted to winning. because winning masks the symptoms. And you're used to a culture that just says win at all costs. Be the winner. It doesn't matter what it's going to cost you. It doesn't matter if it costs you your marriage. Win. Michael Jordan. Don't matter if it costs you your marriage. Just win. But we love winners because we think that winning means that I have something temporary. Right? I'm addicted to the temporal rather than the eternal. We're addicted to things that are temporary. Right? We're addicted. Give me what I need now. Give me what I need now. Give me what I need now. Why don't you talk about this now? Why don't you give me this now? Why don't you love me now? Why don't you look, man? It's going to take time. And right. And even if I were to give you a download, that's what it looks like. Like when people are really in the spirit and you see them doing, stuff like that, and you think that they're wilding out, like it's a download that happens. You can't even handle it. You're physically not able to handle it. And then you have to go back when you receive something in the spirit. Then you got to go back and figure out what just happened, what just was downloaded, and how can I execute to make sure that this benefits not only myself as the conduit, but also those that will receive the power through me. That this just went that when this download happened. How you doing, Amanda? Thanks for being part of the community. You said it's procrastinating the work that needs to take place. Mm-hmm. Practice patience to be given. Patience, yeah. And watch this. So you got to sow patience to receive, right? Whatever a man soweth, that also shall he what? Reapeth. Not just reap, but reapeth. That means to continue to reap. If I continuously sow, I will continuously reap. A lot of people plant something one time and say, well, shoot, if I plant it one time, it'll just give birth to itself over and over and over again. You're supposed to be the person that watches over what you plant. Right? Let's put this like this, right? We're going to get ready to take our leave soon, but let me look up scripture real quick. Right? I'm going to find the scripture real quick. Hmm. I got to find because sometimes I be thinking the wrong scripture. Yeah, hold on one second. Okay, I was in the right area. I didn't have the right thing. So Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 12, I believe is what we're looking for. And this is right after. So Jeremiah has been chosen to speak and is busy telling the Most High why he's too young and can't do this, can't do that, whatever. Right? And so, this is where, Jeremiah 1:4, where before you were born, formed in the belly, he knew him and, and all this stuff. Right. And so Jeremiah, thinks that he's too young and he says, don't stop telling me you're too young, this, that, whatever. Right. After all this, Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 12 said this. He said, it says Yahweh speaking. Right. It says Yahweh speaking. So this is the Lord, the Most High. Right. Oh, you guys are in your garden right now. Amen. Right. Thank you, Lionheart. Appreciate it. So watch this. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 12. It says, then said Yahweh unto me, thou hast well seen, for I will hasten my word to perform it. Now, hasten means I shall rush it. However, I want to look at what this word hasten actually means. Right? Hasten. So really probably would have been pronounced initially Haston, but we don't pronounce words correctly anymore. But we would get to a word that basically would be shavkad or shavkad, probably shavkad, really, shavkad. And when we look at this shavkad, it means to keep watch of, to be wakeful over, to be wakeful or wake, as a mourner or sufferer. So even like your watch, when people say, like we're gonna do a watch or a wake, that's why you use that term, because you can also, when you're going to awake, you're watching over, even mourning, you're suffering, right? So, but Shavakad here is speaking specifically to watching over. So they say, I'm going to hasten my word or hasten my word to make haste, which is to make it hurry up. But he's saying, I'm really going to watch over it. They're trying to say the context. So in English, the English word they're using, they're trying to say this is him saying that he's going to watch over it because he wants to make it happen. Right. But really, it's not really saying that. It's saying that we're going to sit in this, even if we got to mourn, if we got to go through some stuff. Right. But in English, it comes off as I'm trying to rush it. Right. That's why we always have to know proper context. It's not just enough to have facts without context. It's not enough to have context without facts. We want to have contextual facts. Right. And when we learn how to do that, then when we read our Bible, it'll bless us. Right. So, so he's saying, like, if we go back to the scripture, let's go back to the scripture now. What we're getting out of the scripture is Yahweh says that thou hast seen, right? For I will hasten my word to perform it, or I will watch over, or I will sit over that thing. I'm gonna keep watch. I'm gonna. It's almost gonna be like a wake. I'm not gonna let this go away, right? I'm not going to let this just randomly happen. I'm not going to say something and it's not going to happen. I'm going to sit here and watch over it. Right? Remember, this is Jeremiah saying how he's too young, this and that, all this stuff. I can't do this. I can't do that. Making excuses. That's why he can't invest. I know you called me to invest your word, to be a prophet, to speak, right? Not to lie, but to prophesy. I know you told me all these things, yeah. However, right? And all these things you're telling me, like Moses did. Hey, I know you're, look, you got the wrong one. I can't speak. I'm too old. I just escaped Kemet. How you gonna have me go right back? He said, man, how am I gonna do this by myself? He said, man, I'm sending your brother Aaron. Be quiet. I already got this thing set up. Just do what I asked. Right? Just do what I asked. Yeah, adversary trying to bring stuff through translation. Yeah, he said, just do what I ask. I'm telling you what it is because I won't give you a vision without provision. Like, go and do exactly. See, this is one of our issues too, because we're addicted to doing things our own, addicted to hoarding, addicted to having the attention, addicted. It has to be my own way, right? And that covers our symptoms. As long as it's my own way, I don't feel like even if I go down swinging. All these terms you hear, right? We use them in that way. I'm addicted to it. This has to be my way. The Most High says, if you can come out your addiction, I'm the one that created you. I can fix the source. I can be the one to deal with it because eventually you got to take that tourniquet off. I'm the only thing that's going to help that arm get back where it is. If you would just listen, right? If you would just listen, not to what I'm saying only, but to listen to the procedure. That's why there's not, I'm sorry, we got mosquitoes around here coming back out nowadays. I'm not just only, that's why I'm not only in just the Most High is not just only into remedial law, which is the remedy, and he's not only into substantive law, your public and private law. He's into the procedural law. There's procedures that have to be in place in order for you to get the remedy that keeps you to be in private, being not in the world, or not being of the world, and not and being able to deal with the public, even though you might be in it. You might be in it public, but you're not of it private. Right? So you gotta realize that there's no such thing, right? If he says, right, if equals go, right? Remember we talked about that x plus y equals z. And I don't even remember if I remember everything. I think x was vision plus y equals provision. I'm sorry, x was vision, y was provision, z was go. So x plus y equals z. So if I don't know what the value of y is, but I know that x, he gave me a vision, and y, and sorry, z, he told me to go, then the missing part of the equation is y, provision. He's not going to tell me to go, which is what the equal is, z, and tell me and give me a vision x, and he has no provision y. That's the equation. X plus y equals z. X plus y equals z. So if I tell you something, I'm not going to tell you to go. If I show you something, I'm not going to tell you to go, and you don't have no provision. If I give you provision and I give you a vision, then it might be time for you to go, right? But he's not going to give us these things without. But we have to have a proper context. Thank you, Bounty. Appreciate it. So you got to have this proper context, and you got to be thinking the proper manner. You got to start looking in the proper way, and you got to think about these things. Like, you got to comprehend. And a lot of people, once again, are dealing with the spirit of the spirit of addiction, because we are not invested, right? If you're not invested in your happiness, all it takes is a piece of happiness to get you off track. And that's how you need to guard yourself. That's why you need to know these terms. That's why you need to know thyself. Very ancient African proverb, right? Know thyself. Why do you need to know thyself? Because if you don't know thyself, you fall for anything. Remember, right? There's self and there's control, right? If I take away self, the only thing left is control. And how do you control a person when they're not even aware of self? How can you be accountable to self, or self accountable, and you don't know who self is? Who are you? When you look in the mirror, whose man's is that? What is your value system? Who sent you? I mean, these are all real questions. Anybody who wants authority has to recognize you don't get authority unless somebody gives it to you. You have to receive authority. It has to be handed down. Salah, right? It has to be handed down. Thank you for sharing the live, Lori. Appreciate it. Like, you have to have authority handed down. You can't become sovereign unless sovereignty tells you, right? And so, who do you belong to? See, so we're in need. We don't recognize this. Going all the way back to the beginning of this, people who are addicted, they are in need of something spiritually. They're not receiving it, and so since they are not receiving what it is that they need, they're looking for anybody or anything to validate. And that's where addiction comes in, where you find a piece of something. But remember, something that's a piece of something, that's what we use a term. We use this term to talk about a piece of something all the time. We just don't know what it means. It's genetically modified. It's a GMO. Something genetically modified means that Elohim did not make it. Amen. It's an Elohim shaped hole, right? If something is genetically modified, right? If something is genetically modified, that means that it's something that is not whole. That's all it means. So the only reason somebody can own medication, right? The only reason why somebody can own or patent medication is because they take a herb and they change the way the herb is. They remove something from it or add something to it. And when they modify it, they can now patent it, because by law, you cannot patent anything that the Most High has created, right? So if I wanted to take these turnip greens or whatever, or if I want to take this garlic, if I wanted to take, aloe or whatever, and I tried to patent it and sell it to you as something that I own, or my wife through Bloom and Flourish, her business owns. If we tried to do that, it would be illegal for us to do, because the Most High created it. However, if we were able to take that seed or whatever, find a way to manipulate it, then basically have something new that nobody's manipulated before, we could patent it and say it's ours. The problem is, though, now that I've taken ownership away from the Most High and I'm selling it to you as my own, the problem is that now it has side effects. Amen, Sister Betty, right? Amen, Alicia. Now the problem is, once I modified it, it comes with laterogenic effects. It has side effects. It's going to hurt you just as much as it might help, if it helps at all. But it's going to end up hurting you because it's only got a piece. See, because I modified it, it has side effects. Because if you want to think, if we can think outside the box a tiny bit, or if you want to think more homiletically for a second, because it has side effects, think of it having a hole in its side. Something's leaking out. So every time that you're taking this modified medication, you have to recognize that now you've got a hole in its side. If you're eating modified foods or modified medication, you got a hole. You got these side effects. Okay, exactly. You're taking the nature, right? Or the natural, and trying to put it with the unnatural. You're taking the melanated, right? And I'm not talking about people, but I'm talking about this is really what happens. If you know how medication is designed and how they test to see how potent it is, they test to see how potent medication is to see what its effect on melanin is. If it breaks down melanin enough, then they say that that's a powerful medication. So if you're taking things that are modified and messes with your nature, then you're taking something that's going to mess up everything. They can only own it if it breaks you down. They cannot own it if it heals you. This is the reality. That's why you end up taking one medication that leads to another, that leads to another, and before you know it, you're drinking pills. Like there are legit people out there that don't even need water. They just take a handful of pills, put them in their mouth, they swallow it, and they move about their day. Right? So the same way that happens, if you're not careful, you get addicted to something. It looks like it's a herb, but somebody has what patented it. They said it's not what the Most High made because I can't own it. So I'm going to give you something that I came up with, my system, my way of thought, what makes me feel great, which is really being over you and making money off you and controlling your life. And I'll give it to you. And when I give it to you, I'm going to give you something that's going to destroy who you are. And so you become addicted to it because guess what? Now you got to go from one pill that I got you addicted to. Hey, I got another one. And then I got another program. And I got another program. And before you know it, you're living off the programmer, right? Or you're living off the program somebody made up rather than the programmer who put everything into existence. I'm sorry, my wife. Hey, baby, my wife said the pharmaceutical industry doesn't deal in return or deals in return customers. Yeah, not healing. You know, like that's what they're dealing in. It's return customers. If you're really healed on something, right? If you're coming back to me, you should be coming back to me to make sure that you're just getting stuff to prevent anything else from happening, right? I should be giving you preventative food. After we heal you, then you should still keep coming back, but not to have to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars and stuff like that for medication that's not going to heal you, but just going to keep you alive. But you should be, like put it this way. Dr. Lay Africa said it like this: if I give you anything that I can give you as an adult, this doesn't exactly equate, but this actually makes a lot of sense. I'm going to be honest. This is not something I would say 100% I'm with, but I get the context, right? Or what he's trying to present at least, which is if I can give it to you, right, and you say it's healthy, I should be able to give it to your baby. If I can give it to you and it's healthy, I should be able to give it to your baby and it should be healthy. If I can put a bunch of salt on your fries, you should be able to put a bunch of salt in your baby's bottle and they should be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, right? But we're addicted to certain things. We're not eating it because it's good. It's great for us. We're eating it because we're addicted to it. They're worshiping the creation instead of the creator. He said I was smoking marijuana and was cautioned about this. I got a fuse back and became addicted to pills. Yeah, and if anything, you should. I believe you should have ate the marijuana, or really, I guess legally they say not to call it marijuana anymore because that's what they made illegal. But you should have ate the herb and not smoked it. But nevertheless, smoking was definitely better than any pain pills they would have gave you. Yeah, increasingly harder to find seed. That's why you got to keep your seed or you got to grow your own. My wife said the only difference between illegal drugs and legal are the sellers. Yeah, it's gangster. It's like alcohol. Remember, the only amendment that's been taken down is the one about alcohol. That's the only one that they got rid of, and the only reason they started was because they couldn't have the best alcohol. They didn't have the best weed at one time. Now, they sell weed that people like, so and people will pay the Americans for it, so they tax it now. That's it, right? And we become addicted to these things that supposedly help you, but they hinder. So we're addicted to these things. So now is the time for us to start sowing into the things. If you're addicted, watch this. The person who's addicted to misery loves company, it's time to start sowing positivity into that person, and it's time for that person to sow positivity. And yes, it's going to be difficult if you've been living a life of negativity for a while, but it's a process. However, you can do it. I believe in you. Maybe you haven't heard that before, or you don't hear it enough. I believe in you, though. You said should be able to eat your hair care products. You know, I skipped over this earlier. I meant to talk about deodorant. You know, a lot of people when they take deodorant, especially antiperspirant, you know, people aren't even aware of what's going on with the antiperspirant. What does that even mean? And the fact that it's really just when you're dealing with that drug or that antiperspirant, what you're actually dealing with is a lot of people are unaware that it's designed to be able to stop you from sweating, right? So when you sweat, what's supposed to be happening when you sweat? When you sweat, you're supposed to be getting rid of all types of impurities. Matter of fact, it's relieving waste from your body. A lot of people don't like to look at it that way because you don't want to think of you going number two through body parts. But the reality is like when you're sweating or when you have pimples or all these different things, all that's really happening is that you're you're actually relieving your body of waste. So if somebody has like a lot of pimples and things like that, usually that's a reaction. Like when people just go, oh, you're a teenager. All teenagers go through acne and stuff. That's kind of a newish thing. That's not something that actually is supposed to happen. What happens is a lot of babies and children are not eating correctly, and then you have this thing where now your body's starting to say, I got to provide and make space to produce life. And so if you're a boy or if you're a girl, if you're a girl, obviously you're developing eggs if you haven't developed them already at this point. And as a boy, you're developing sperm, right? And both of those have to deal with life. Your body is like, we can't be giving birth to the next generation and have all this poison in our system. So it immediately starts trying to excrete everything. And that's why all of a sudden one day you go from being a boy who's never thought about deodorant to you're like, oh wow, I really smell bad. Like I smell horrendous. What happened? Right? You don't know what happened, but what happened was your body's like, yo, we got to give birth to life. So we got to get rid of all this stuff. Your body, like your body's saying, I got to produce eggs. I can't have eggs and I can't have a reproductive system and all this stuff. And I've got all these dirty, nasty, disgusting stuff in me. I've got to get rid of it. That's really what's going on, right? Your body has enough sense to say, I can't keep all this stuff. I can't keep these things in me. It says I got to cleanse myself. In essence, your body's detoxing, but yeah, we should all detox. But in essence, your body is detoxing. Say it's freaking out. It's like, I got to give life. First things first, cleanse. Get everything out of me, right? You'll be sitting there and you'll be like, how do I get this? Just randomly, I just got this thing on my arm. Or you be with somebody's like, you got this thing on your back. And you're like, what in the world is that, right? It's there's a lot going on that we have to recognize what's happening, and we have to be willing to to grow in that. So but we're addicted, and these things that we're holding on to, they're gonna come out. And so even at that, right, let's say you got addiction where like you smell, or let's even focus on your face. You've got these addictions, these foods, all these things that you're eating. So what happens? Instead of changing your eating habits, what do? You say, okay, I'm going to go to the store. This is what they do, right? I remember being a child. I don't remember if this is the correct brand I bought. I believe it is. But you go, and I forget, there was one, I believe it was Oxy something or something like that. I might be wrong, but then there was another one, Clearasil. And you take them things home. There was one that you went and you reached and you grabbed the pad and you started like wiping your face down or whatever, and you see all this dirt and stuff come out after you wash your face. There should be all this dirt, right? That Clearasil is not actually helping. It's because it's not. It just masks the symptom. So they'd be like, okay, see, we healed it. It's like, no, you didn't heal it. You didn't heal it. You just masked the symptom. But your body's still going to produce waste. That's why you're still going to have stuff come out later on. And all you did was just basically have this thing that actually basically took all the waste out. Body still has excess waste, so it's still going to put it through your skin. But you just wipe something that basically you took a wipe, like a baby wipe, like you take to your baby's fountain, you took it to your face, and you did this, and you cleaned it off. You just don't think of them both being food. right? Or you go and instead of you don't you get instead of getting antiperspirant, you get the deodorant. The deodorant is going to be, when it says deodorize, the odor is coming from the fact, like if you're somebody that eats vegetables only, and you eat very healthy, it's going to be actually pretty difficult for you to smell even when you sweat. Like you'll smell, but you ain't gonna smell like as bad as like some people smell, right? When they go through stuff, you're not gonna smell quite like they smell, right? But like it'll be, and even if it smells, it'll be a different type of smell. It's like if you have number two and you're eating healthy, yeah, you smell waste, but it's not gonna smell anything close. So like, you can tell if somebody's eating unhealthy if you smell you smell a certain type of number two smell, right? And it's the same thing. Like so, you'll go through this process and eating this stuff, and we're not even aware of it, right? So you have the same thing where people just go, we're going to take deodorant. They don't realize the deodorant and stuff that they're using is just pushing in. All it does is it just pushes into your pores. It just blocks your pores. So like if anything, you should maybe use it as an emergency situation if you needed it, but you should probably be going with antiperspirant, right? And make sure that you just have some enough, or make up your own deodorant. A lot of people make up their own deodorant and use natural stuff to do so. But you're just pushing in stuff to your pores. So you go, I'm not smelling, so I'm clean, right? But that doesn't mean, like, once again, clean means legal. Illegal means unclean. You got some illegal activity going on the inside. Your body's trying to push out what's illegal. You'll push it back in. And so now you got problems. Now you got itching. Now you got swelling that happens. Now you got stuff that tries to come out in other places because the waste was trying to come out to your underarm. And you're like, I'm not going to let that happen. So now that it doesn't have anywhere, it's got to go somewhere else. And we're dealing with the same thing. We got these things in us that need to come out, but we're addicted to stuff like, oh, well, I need to make sure that everybody's okay with me. So rather than be a little smelly for a second because you need to go ahead and deal with your stuff, I can't have everybody know I'm going through my stuff. Not everybody can know that I'm dealing with issues. Not everybody can know that I'm going through these trials and these struggles. So what do? I push it back in. I'm using alcohol, push it back in. I'm using crack, push it back in. I'm using dope, push it back in. I'm using opium, push it back in. I'm using lean, cough syrup. I push it back in. I'm using bleach. I mean, people use all types of stuff. I forget what the one is called that they have all the way in, what is that, in Russia? That legit makes people where they can't even move, and they literally start looking crocodilian. Their skin starts to become really hard and cracked, and they can't move. They basically like kind of just dry out. It's really sad. I forget what it's called, but they have a drug over there, right? And it starts off really simple. Like it starts off really simple, and hey, this feels really great, blah blah. Before you know it, now you're addicted. Your body's looking for the same thing it got the first time. It says, "Give me more, give me more, give me more." And we're dealing with that in life. It's a spirit of addiction. There's something you're missing. It really is just what comes naturally through the Most High. You said that's what it's called? Crocodile with a K? See, I didn't even know. I remember watching it a few years ago. My wife and I watched it. I think we were still in Northeast DC at the time, or Northwest DC at the time. But yeah, and it really messes people up. And people know that it's bad. People know, but when you get addicted to something, you even start saying stuff like, well, it ain't going to be me. I won't be the person. It won't lock me down like that. You said you get those things under your arms, and dermatologists say you should take a prescription for the rest of your life. No. Now, I would check in with the honorable mind, see what she has to say, see if she's got a tincture, stuff like that to help out, and see what she would say. But or not, sorry, see what she would have to say. However, where just on my limited mindset and thought process on it, I would definitely say that, you look at that stuff, and more than likely that stuff that's eating it, especially if you have something that's pushing that waste back in, then you're going to have issues and stuff, right? It could be something as simple as, making your own deodorant and using that. It could be something as simple as just not using anything for a while. Probably fasting probably would help that, you know. Probably difficult having to cook as much as you probably have to, for children and all that stuff and everybody. But there's a lot of different things. You said you had an appointment coming, but it started going away, so not sure where the stuff relocated. It's scary. Yeah, So you have to you have to do those things. But we're gonna go ahead and take our leave. thank you so much for being on. We can continue to be on here all day. We appreciate you. Thanks for spending time with us on all the different platforms. We will be on tonight. And Patreon members, we have some videos coming out today. So be ready for those. Just waiting for the upload and everything. Got a few meetings with some people today. So we look forward to that. I believe those who are part of our not admin, not everybody in admin yet, but we're going to get to you guys by this weekend, probably, though, as far as individually. Prayerfully, my wife and I, we're going to have our, or at least I hope to, depending on what our schedules are. However, what we're going to say, project management. We're going to look at that, the project management team today, and we'll talk to you guys then. We appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And also, too, we'll start having more stuff for you guys, like on our Google Calendar and things like that. So things that are on there, if we have your email, we should be able to start making sure that you guys get all the stuff on our calendar very soon. Like I said, we're working out some stuff. So things should be more like this. Please check your email again. I'm going to send that again. I don't know what's going on. I might have to redo it. People have been saying that they haven't gotten the stuff, the questionnaire and stuff for the October 14th through the 16th, which is really wild. Once again, that's why we got to get stuff in order. So please let us know. We look forward to talking to you guys very soon. We look forward, and let me do my mirror image thing again real quick on TikTok. We look forward to talking to you guys very soon. If you want to look for the book, I'm not going to be reading out of the book per se, but I'm just going to be using this as something. My wife found it, and I think it's something powerful. Let me put it up to the screen on Facebook. You guys can barely see it because of the lighting situation. On YouTube, hopefully you guys can kind of see it. It's called I'm Glad You Asked, In-Depth Answers to Difficult Questions About Christianity, Ken Boa and Larry Moody. And even though we're not Christian, a lot of these questions are still going to be questions, that people have. So I'm basically going to be reading out of this and getting questions and stuff and seeing, what they say as far as what Christianity says, what does the Bible say, things like that. If you want to take a screenshot of it, once again, I'll make sure I put it up on Patreon so you guys will know what it is if you want to look for it. I'm not even sure if it's out. My wife just so happened to find it, and so she got it. But we'll be using this to talk about a lot of questions. We already have a whole series called "Haven't Been Led as We Believe," but like this has questions that people ask all the time. Stuff like, "Will Elohim judge those who never heard?" Elohim will judge. Why is that? And that's unfair. Elohim judges according to knowledge. What does that mean? Ignorance of Elohim, like external revelation versus internal revelation. Ignorance of sin, moral standards and conscience. Ignorance of solution. Revelation requires response. Seekers will find missions and other means. Problem. People who live before Christ, right? With that. So how can you judge when people live before Christ? How does that work? Problem. Some people incapable of response. And then well, Elohim, when he judges, is it therefore fair? Things like that. Like that's just one page, right? That's just like one page out of this, So that's page 190. So we'll be using this as something where people have a lot of questions that they ask, just even like this first page on the first chapter, right? It just says stuff like, how can you be sure that there really is Elohim? Like, how do you prove that Elohim exists? Right? What basis is there for believing in miracles? Isn't Christianity just a psychological crutch for weak people? The Bible is full of errors and myths. How can you believe it? If Elohim is in fact great, why does evil and suffering exist? Right? Like we're doing so starting Monday, right? We're gonna go through Mother's Day. Mother's Day, we'll have a special message just for the mothers, and then after that, starting on Monday, we're gonna get into this. All right, and we're thankful and grateful. I'm also appreciative because don't forget, tomorrow, please go out into your community and be a blessing to somebody. Amen. Every first Friday of each month, we try to do that. It says God, but you know where we are on that. So yeah, they say God because you're dealing with Christianity and you're dealing with Germanic deities and things like that. It doesn't mean though that it doesn't have anything of value to look at. So this is a book that two brothers came together and wrote based off of a whole bunch of questions that people have. You're dealing with like 277 pages or so. Well, I guess if you just talk off of the stuff and go through the epilogue of the year, 267 pages basically of information. And so we'll use that to have a little series, and it'll kind of bring home some things that we've been going through. I'm thankful to my wife once again. And so once again, it's called I'm Glad You Asked by Ken Boa and Larry Moody. If you want to look it up, there might be a PDF for all I know. But if you want to look it up, if you want to go through that with us, feel free. We'll try to even do it to where we'll go deeper. So those who do early rise of Bible study session and those that are on Patreon, we'll try to see if we can even take some of the things that are in here and just have them be specific to those platforms only. Maybe even see if we can add a little bit. I'll have to ask Minister Nice about it, but see if she doesn't mind us adding a little bit of this stuff, even in the prayer. You know, it even has stuff in here like the existence of Elohim, miracles, psychological crutch, reliability of the Bible, suffering evil, suffering and evil, Christ the only way, those who never heard, hypocrites, great works, too simple, meaning of believe, and assurance. These are all things that people ask all the time. So a lot of stuff that we didn't even get into, because that Haven't Been Led As We Believe series is more so just an introduction. So if somebody says, what do you believe in? You can say, go to #Find Kofi on YouTube and just look up the playlist, Haven't Been Led As We Believe, and you can listen in. And that's, a way of being able to see if you feel this is sound doctrine that will endure and is faithful to what the Most High has to say. Right. So, but this is a little deeper and a little longer. So, airplane's really low. Normally get that off. Everything's all right. So, anyways, though, thank you all. We appreciate the King, Queen, and each and every one of you. I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to take my leave. We will be back on tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time for a shorter amount of time. So we look forward to having you guys rejoin us. And Patreon members, once again, videos will be out. We've been better at being on track on those lately, so we're gonna keep that going. Those who have meetings with us today, we'll talk to you later. I know I got one at 1, one at 3, one at 6-ish probably, and then one at about, or no, one at 1, one at 3, one probably like around 5, one at 6, and then one at like 7:15, something like that. So it's gonna be a busy day before I see you guys again at 8. But all of you, I intend to make sure that I'm on track. Thank you all for being on. We appreciate the King, Queen, and each and every one of you. Please study this word that we talked about and meditate on it. So it's not just something that you've heard, it's also something that you can do as well. We thank the Most High once again for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can find her on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest by that name. The website is Bloom and Flourish, and the number 1 added, Bloom and Flourish 1 at gmail.com. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And she has many different tinctures, including our tincture of the month, that you can go ahead and make sure that you get. And it'll be a blessing to you, help you. She does help people as far as even one-on-one and do some checking in with people and do monthly sessions, things like that, or as far as even do a month working with you or whatever. But, it is a business, so just be aware of that. It is a business because it costs her to be able to put these things together. And also she has to check your history and sometimes even check with other people who have been with you as far as medicine, things of that nature. So just make sure that you're aware of that. However, thank you for helping and being a blessing to her. Thank you all. We appreciate you. We look forward to talking to you guys later. And thank you for being patient. Come either tonight or tomorrow, you'll definitely start hearing a lot more announcements again. Things as far as the weekly meetings being back on track. Things as far as who we can call, talk to, connect with, etc. Right, and have this information where you guys can be able to execute with it and be able to utilize it as much as possible. So thank you again. We honor you all again, and we look forward to talking to you guys later tonight. As always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, yesterday, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. Peace.